Go start on the YouTube side of things. Okay. So YouTube will drop right in because we already hopped in and talked for the first minute or so. But yeah, we'll get going here and we'll play with Proxmox a little bit here, see what this whole shenanigans is. We're kind of going to start moving stuff up there from our XCP NG. So, you know, this is our normal cluster of servers, and then this new server is going to sit in that environment, and we are going to decommission the servers out of here. We're going to decommission the servers out of this guy. So these are kind of the servers that are the oldest. This one has the least amount of capacity in it, so we're going to slowly pull everything off of him and decommission him kind of in place. So we'll be doing that, and that'll kind of happen over the next few months and stuff. Well, probably the next few weeks as we do stuff. The server actually got here about 5 or 6 days earlier than I thought it was going to. And then we'll probably start moving a lot of these other virtual machine devices up into that environment too. So I kind of have some plans around compressing a lot of this stuff here and moving this down into that setup. Atticus over on the YouTube side, how's it going? We are just kind of, I set up a new server. He's pretty beefy. He's got about 512 gigs of RAM. And then we're going to go in there and see what we can do with him. Kind of drop some machines on him and see what that kind of looks like. And probably get in there and see. We may even do some ISO NFS mounting, so we might see what that kind of looks like. I'm unsure of how any of this is going to work with this, so we'll see what that kind of looks like. So yeah, so we'll see how to do all that here in a minute. But I gotta walk away for 1 second. Also, I'm on calls, so it's very possible I get a call out for work. I mean, though I work in a pretty stable environment, but it's very possible that I get a call out for work, and then I got to go do some stuff with that. So I'll let you guys know kind of how that goes. Yeah, let's play around with this a little bit here in a second. All right, actually, and just so you guys know, so the disk space, our storage here, where's our disks at here? Here's our disks. We've got all of these partitions up here. We got about 500 gigs, and then we got about a 3 terabyte RAID over here. Now, 1 terabyte of that is spoken for. That's actually the system that I use to have Samba and NFS in our environment, and that's called Hostbox. We're going to be moving Hostbox over here, but since it's an XCP-NG, it's probably not going to just move. We're probably going to have to build them in place. So let's click on Create VM and see what this kind of looks like. Put them on node Proxmox, give them an ID. Okay. See what our operating system is. We can use some type of storage. We can use an ISO image if we have an ISO mount location, which I do. I can try to grab one via NFS if we can set that up. And then use physical, do not use media. Okay. And then the version of the kernel. If it's something newer or something older. Okay. Also looks like we could do some other things, which we're not going to do right now. And let's go out of here. We don't need this just yet. We might have to figure out how to set up the NFS, but I suspect that might be as easy as just coming to the shell and setting that up through here. So I can just NFS mount that other ISO, I imagine. So let's do, actually, let's see what version we're on. Oh, we're on Debian, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to, what the mount helpers look like for that. Let's see if, let's just see if, let's just see. Let's try this out. We'll go let's just see if we can mount -T NFS from 192.168 to 11.200 ISOs to mount ISOs. Okay. Yeah, okay, so we can mount ISOs directly. I wonder though if that shows up here then when I go to create a VM. Am I going to be able to see that location? So if I say it's on storage local, right, and then will I be able to find that ISO image? CD, DVD, image file, ISO, but I want to maybe see. Is there an advanced version here? Can I see something else? Okay. I might have to play with that a little bit, because then if I go into, I should see all those mounted. So then if I want to mount like Rocky 9.4 and then build it, or I got to see if there is a way to import. I imagine there's an import button. It's probably something around here where we can set this, I imagine, to pull in if I have like a VMDK or an OVA file or something. So we might see if we can do that, because I can always load those up. Probable Steve said, man, I just realized my website was not working on mobile networks because I had mistyped my quad A record, and those networks for IPv6, something new for me. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that for sure. So hold on, I'm looking here. I literally just stood this server up a few minutes ago, guys. So we're kind of hanging out and looking at this for the first time here, and I do not know any of the capabilities that this thing has, let alone can I find here. I don't need any of those. Is there a storage? Can I create? I can't really create any storage for that. Ceph not relevant to this. Hosts. Some shell notes. I might have to see where does Proxmox store its ISOs, because I can just link those ISOs down in there. You got edamame, tequila, and milk duds. Nice, nice. That's quite a quite a combination. I think if I had that, I'd probably be watching something non-tech related. But I did watch Scream 3 today, which I have not seen probably since it came out, and I was not super impressed with it, but it was fine. Let's see if our OS can go anywhere other than local. All right. Where does Proxmox look for ISOs? Let's see. Where does it look for that? So it looks down here in varlib VZ template ISOs. Let's go back to shell. So, just for fun, we've got plenty of space here. Let's CD back to mount. Actually, we just ls mount ISOs. And let's just say, just for the fun of it, that we were going to copy Rocky 9.4. Oh, no. Gotta stop me sometimes, guys. Let's just say that we were going to copy that to here. And then let's go see if that shows up, because I'm kind of curious. Yeah, I could probably link it too, but I'll just copy it over that. I don't care. This system's got plenty of storage, and I'll clean it up later. And then probably later we're going to be doing this via Ansible anyways. So this is just us. This is just us dicking around the first time, really messing around. Oh, it said. Normally this thing stops any of my bad words, but that actually said it right there. That's funny. Okay, let's let that copy over. Let's just hit the create VM after that and see if it sees it. Right, it may see that. Yeah, there it is. It sees it. It's not the full size yet. It's still copying, but okay, that's cool. I mean, I'd be interested to see if I could set those up and build them. Net effect for these, we're probably going to stand these nodes up. We're probably going to define their MAC addresses as they come up, and then we're probably going to let them just be managed by Werewolf. In fact, depending on how smooth this goes, I might just be moving the Werewolf labs into here pretty quickly and decommissioning some of those older servers, at least moving them down. So, you know, power saving and that kind of stuff. We'll see. There's no reason not to have them kind of around, but just maybe decommission two of the oldest ones or something. So, yeah, so all we're doing is copying that ISO up. That shouldn't take too long. It's an NFS mount and it's pulling it over. But then maybe I go and I build a new server just for fun. Eventually, we'll be hopping over here. Where's this at? And we're going to make a Proxmox. Right. And then down here, we'll start building our Proxmox inventories out and all the things that we're going to do. Well, the inventory will be this one server, but then what we touch and do with it, we will probably have to. All right, so that's there. That's all saved. Now let's try to create one real quick. Let's just go here and say, let's just say Rocky test 1. That's fine. Let's give him no specific resource pool. That's fine. OS, we'll go grab that Rocky ISO, which was 10 gigs now. That's good. Let's see what the system is. Graphic card default. We don't have anything special here. Let's see what kind of. We go UEFI if we want. That's fine. We'll go with default. We're not going to change anything just yet. Disks. We could give him a new disk. Let's see what his new disk might look like. Disk size is 32 gigs. That's fine for a test. And then where? Oh wait, hold on. Let's go see where that disk is. So. SCSI block. And where are we putting it? It's on storage local LVM, which we know from over here is, or what's our other option? So that's only on our local disk. We got to get that other disk built so that we see the 3 terabytes. So we'll put it on this for now. That's fine. We won't mess with any of this stuff, but it looks like we've got a lot of stuff that we can choose. And we'll give him 496. So we'll give him a little more. We'll let him balloon, sure. His network is going to be virtualized. Let's see what a build looks like. All this information, good, good, good. He's got a VM ID of 100, fine. And let's see what happens here when we build him. Probable, Steve, I have never run Proxmox before a few minutes ago, no. I have always been, in my home lab, an XCPNG guy. So I've always had these. And now, just today, just a few, actually, within the last hour, in the home lab, we stood up. You know, I went in. This is the server in the box. This is the rack. This is the space that's going to go right here. I know the rack's dusty. But we're going to be decommissioning some of these older servers out. Because this guy had, there it is all on the floor. Here he is in the rack right here. That's him. And then here he is booting up. Here he is with Proxmox starting, right? And then here he was booting for the first time with Proxmox. And then building, putting all the stuff in there, you know, create LVs and all that good stuff. And then back there. And then down here was the first time he actually booted. And he's 203 on my environment. Yeah, no, so we're just starting with Proxmox. I've always used, this is me in the home lab. I'm back at my desk with my multiple monitors. Now, building this and looking at it for the first time. Yeah, so you guys are hanging out. Some of you probably use Proxmox quite a bit. I've never touched this before today. I've seen some people play with it, but I'm going to be kind of moving. Because look, if I have 32 gigs of RAM on this box. I've got 128, 128, and 128. This box is 512 by himself. So I have some of the older ones. I have some of the older ones that I'm going to be pulling out. Well, and then I also have so some of you guys have been around the environment. This is one of the reasons that I tell people, like when people say, "Hey Scott, should I be using XCPNG or Proxmox?" I tell people to use Proxmox because Proxmox is much more like this is all I can do with the one environment tool I have to build. Right, I can do this, and then that's my environment file. And then this is like, this is an XCPNG. You can stand up Zen server guest, and this is like building individual systems out there. And it's clunky and it's not maintained. It hasn't been maintained in 5+ years now. So I'm gonna use Proxmox, right? We're gonna get this stood up, and then I'm gonna go back in here, and then we're going. Whoops. We're going to start building out our Ansible here so that we can just deploy nodes as we need to. So, yeah, so I'm mostly playing with Proxmox for the fun of it to see what these kind of builds look like. But I am curious to see what this kind of looks like. All right, so he's got a weird name, but he's got that weird name because we just we apparently gave him that number and didn't give him a good name. So let's start him up. And let's see what kind of console we get with him. Let's see. He's called Rocky Test down here, but we want that name over here probably. Here's his memory usage as he first starts up. That's cool. Let's see if we can get a console on him as he boots up. Okay. We don't want to install. We just want to test. Or we don't want to test. We just want to install. Let's install this thing. Let's see what it looks like, if it'll build. Now, this is not the way they're going to normally build. They're going to come up via iPixie, and they're going to boot via Werewolf. And this server, really, in the big scheme of things, this server is designed, I mean, I got it with all the RAM, so I could run individual Werewolf environments so that people want to learn how to do Werewolf. I'll be able to at least give them some basic little Werewolf configuration environment. So, because I know sometimes people want to, they want to get in here and see what this, kind of stuff can do. And they want to get maybe some skills and stuff. So our lab now shows you how to build servers. Well, it doesn't show you how to build stuff as much as administer, and then secure, and then automate. And then in this case, I'm going to have people learning how to build Werewolf out. All right, so English, good, continue. Let's go see what our disks look like here. All right, put it on a disk. Perfect. We'll let it be automatic configuration for now. We're not worried about that. Local media. We do not want a software server with a GUI. We want a server. And we want the bare minimum of tools, but typically we want at least like NFS and then maybe some performance tools. This is maybe the minimum that I would put on a server. We do RPM stuff, sure. One of the nice things is you can always add stuff later, but you typically don't want a GUI to start on a server. So, probably see if you've been going through the admin labs. Yeah, hopefully that stuff's useful to you, right? For people that don't know, we have a bunch of free, here's our professional security engineering course. What is this? PA, what is it called? LAC. This is a Linux admin course. So there's Linux admin course, security engineering course, right? So there's these different courses. I don't want to do that. And they show you, how to get into Linux administration or systems engineering, and then we have environments for people that are in our Discord to hop into. If you guys need any of these, they're linked. I think they're out there, but here they are linked for people that want them. I don't know. Sometimes people just, until I link it for them, they don't ever know that it's there. So we have that, and we have the automation course being built as we go. We're in Unit 3 right now, going into Unit 4 soon. Let's make a root password for this box. It's good enough. Good enough. And we don't need a user for now. We'll just begin installation. This box is probably going to come. Oh, I didn't set network IP, so it's just going to get DHCP on the network. That's fine. I'm cool with that. We will not do this like this in the future. We will go. We will not normally do it this way. Here we will do it through Ansible, right? When we need to build things in the future. So this will be our deploy. But anyways, so it's good. And then Emmett Ali said, have Proxmox set up and eagerly waiting for Werewolf build. Nice. Yeah. When I start doing the Werewolf stuff, I will make all the material public, but the labs, I only have a certain capacity for the labs. So I'll probably start with I'm probably going to start with five actual labs that we can run. And then it'll probably be invite only on people that have already done the other ones. And the only reason I say that is because I want it to be something that people that I know that are serious will do. But the material will all be there. Anybody that wants to go build Werewolf will be able to. Obviously anybody can do that now. It's open source. But then we kind of go from there. Real Tinge, you said, where do I go for the ProLUG? Yeah, no. So if you want to use the ProLUG lab environment, you just drop down in here. You go to our Discord. You drop down to the ProLUG lab environment here, and you just give me a public key. And then all you got to do to connect is use the ProLUG user. There's drawings, so there's drawings out here that show how you connect. So it's ProLUG at prolug.asuscom.com. Yeah, com.com, like that. And then that'll link you back. And then So what'll happen here typically is you drop into a Bastion node, and then the Bastion node gets over there. If you guys haven't seen that before, I'll pull that up real quick. While this is, because that's building, that's going to take a while. If you go to Excalidraw, right? Awesome tool. This is what the lab environment kind of looks like. And now we've got a new node to add. This is how the Bastion process works. You come in off the internet, ProLUG at prolug.asuscom.com. You get dropped into a user jail. That jail lets you go to admin labs, security labs, or automation labs, and then you go up into whatever lab capacity server that you go to. That is running at all times over here. Where's that at? Over here. And if I were to just bang watch, this is the environment. So there's 2 Rocky nodes up. Somebody's in 3, 4, and 5 right now. I know the capacity is there, but people are in 3, 4, and 5. Hammer, nobody's using any of the security engineering labs. And then if we were to just cat that file real quick, I can tell you how much automation. Nobody's in any of the automation nodes except I'm in Auto 5. If I leave Auto 5 and then we watch this, and let's do like a tail dash, let's say 15. Now, oh, whoops. Let's go 20. So you're going to see here in a second the auto server 5 pop back up because I'm not in it anymore. That is dynamically built every minute via a cron job that runs Ansible and redeploys the bastion.sh shell inside of the Bastion for users that connect in. So that's just a little way to ensure that we always have lab capacity for people. And if there's no capacity, it'll say, hey, there's no capacity for automation labs, try back later. Oh, yeah, and that's the other thing. Real J, let's say. There's Killer Coda labs. I have a lot of Killer Coda labs out there, and you guys can hop in any of those. I know that's bright. But I've got my Ansible labs. I've got a whole bunch of Linux labs out here. And I think Killer Coda is one of the best free sites on the web for people to just get in there and do stuff. This is how people connect into the home lab here. Coming off the internet, everybody comes in off the same account now. And then you jump into and in the DMZ Bastion, you get sent to either as a jailed user into the Rocky nodes or the auto nodes or the Hammer nodes, depending on what you want to do. So there's that. Revant said, I want to deploy a project with front-end, back-end, database 3-tier project, or RoboShop project, which is available as microservices. How can I deploy that? After deploy, how can I access what I need? Public IP. Yeah, you would need public IP, Revant. I would tell you probably the easiest way to do what you describe is to do some of that up in the cloud. One of our guys was just talking about building some cloud stuff that shows people how to do like EKS and like Kubernetes type services and those type of things. I show how to do a 3-tier project in one of my Killer Coda labs. And if you were in our ProLUG environment, we have a presentation section. And in presentations, if you go up a little ways, you can find some of my old presentations, specifically my presentation on Kubernetes 3-tier applications. So sometimes I show you guys how to build a 3-tier app inside of Kubernetes. It's relatively straightforward to do. You got to build your front end. I use Python and Flask. You got to build your data tier. So your front end is a load balancer, which is handled as an ingress controller through Nginx and Kubernetes. So I show how to do that. And then there's a middle tier, which is your application tier, which is the Python and the Flask. And then I show how to connect back very simply to a database, which I use MariaDB. Or actually in that one I use MySQL, but they're essentially the same thing. Structured data. It's very simple, but I show you guys how to do it. All right, let's see. This is going. This is still building. Let's see what our overall server. How's he doing? Is he chewing that up pretty easy? Barely using any of his CPU. That's nice. See, that's his percentage. So 1.4 looks high, but if I had that set all the way up, it would just be across the bottom here. And server load 1.1. That's nothing compared to 20 CPUs. So that's good. Memory usage. This is how much is free, so there's how much he's being used, so that's nothing. All right, so he's chewing it up pretty easily. Not too much network traffic, except for when he was pulling. This was when he was pulling that 10 gigs over the local 1 gig link. So he was using some networking for some small period of time, and then he had some IO shell pressure. Sure. All right, let's go see this box if he's running okay. He's still building, still booting. What's his monitor look like? Nothing yet. Options. Looks good. I might need some of this information for when I'm doing some of this later. Let's let him keep building. Let's come back over here. Let's see if we can get this other piece of storage up. So this box right here, so dev SDB is 3 terabytes, and this is where I'm going to have to do some of this. Yeah, Boris, if you missed it, I ordered a server the other day, right? Up in Discord, I was dropping some hints. Up in Discord in our home lab, because I guess that's where it goes. It's my home lab, but I use it for ProLUG. Right, all the professional links user group. And I mentioned the other day, somebody said something, but I said, where is it at? Hold on. Just picked up 512 gig server. Well, I bought it and it'll be here by the 21st. Well, it showed up today, so I pulled it out of the rack, or I pulled it out and racked it. And as the guy said, where is this? Where's Fisherman at? The last user of XCPNG is finally migrating. Yeah. So anyways, I said the server's here, so that's early, and then I was showing you guys that here's it in the box. Nice foam padding. Here's where it's going to go in my dirty server rack. And then here's it all out of the box and in the server rack right there. So it's a pretty thin little server. It's going to replace quite a few of these boxes. And then this was me turning it on for the first time, booting up Proxmox. Yeah, I mean, you know, we could play with it. We're only in the GUI for now. We're going to be doing it all with Ansible and Werewolf in a little bit. But for the first setup, I have no problem playing around in what they got. And then this was the first boot here. This was me connecting in once I had it up. And then this is it on my network, right? Different network stuff. All right. Wouldn't be hard to replicate a lot of that information. Took me under an hour to get it all working from pulling out of the box to done. So I think that's pretty good. I called it very easy. But what I want to do now is I want to see if I can get this disk to be used. So I don't know if I have to come down here and do something. I don't know if I have to. So here's LVM, and it's all this in SDA3. I don't know if I can create anything. So here's all the data on this one. Can I create a new thin pool on this other device? Yes. And the name will be lab storage, right? And then create that. All right, so that's cool. So that it may be that simple to build all this stuff out there, because I was saying it's 3 terabytes and it's thin provisioned, but I have in my home lab, right? Let me show you guys something here while that's going. We could stop that. Look, by the way, there's Auto 5 back. Remember I said Auto 5 would come back? Let's go back over here to Hostbox, and I'll show you guys. Hostbox in my home lab does this one thing. He has all my ROMs, he has all my ISOs, and he's got data. And look at data. It's this big old 700 gig data. And what I have in data is a lot of my home backup. So, and you say, what's all this stuff? It's all jujitsu videos. It's mostly just jujitsu videos. And then my home lab shares it out in both NFS, so if I want to NFS mount things, and it also shows it out this other way through, if you test Parm. So the way so Microsoft in the early 90s put together a thing called SMB, Server Message Block. And SMB, Server Message Block, the protocol Samba on our side talks to it. So I can set up these nodes. I can set up data, ROMs, right, and ISOs here as data shares, and the valid users are in Samba group. So I can, so I could just do, let's do this real quick. Let's grep SMB group from Etsy group. So for people that have never seen this before, there's my Samba data, right? And then I might say like, oh, what users are in there? I thought I had, oh, Samba data. Let's do Samba. So Samba data. Oh, Samba data is the name of the. That's my bad. Grab. That's my bad. I messed that up. Etsy Pass WD. That's the name of the user. So no. I guess I'm. Oh, goddamn! You guys got to stop me. You guys gotta stop me. I'm pretty dumb sometimes. There's my Samba data. So you say, well, Scott, why would Samba data then sharing out this stuff from that look like this? Well, then I can have in my home lab, I can have a Windows machine, right? Be on a Windows box, and my Windows box could very quickly right here go into data, and this data is exactly shared out of this system right here. So if I were to go into, like, let's say I went into Bass Rutten. If you guys know who Bass Rutten is, he's an old MMA fighter, and I can CD into Bass Rutten, and these are the same pieces of information here that are stored here. So it's a seamless integration. Samba and Server Message Block is designed as a seamless integration between Windows and Linux. And you say, Scott, could you go into one of these disks right now? Whoops. Could you go into one of these disks and open this with your VLC media player? And would that play Boss Rutten sitting here talking and beating people up? Is this all talking? Oh, that's no good. I want to see him beat people up. So I don't know. They're sitting there beating people up and doing jujitsu stuff, right? Well, they do. They were calling it. What did they call it then? I think they were calling it pancreation or something at that point. But the point is, I can pull those videos up and do that kind of stuff, right? Even though it's over here on this storage. Does that kind of make sure? Chickode, you're fine. I didn't. It wasn't really a full setup of things. It's just me kind of messing around with stuff. But now look. Now I got this big old. Look at that big old chonky lab storage with 2.96 terabytes. Again, about a terabyte of that's already spoken for, but that still leaves, and that's thin provision though, so whatever's not being used on the other ones will be able to fit. Emmett said, why NAS use NFS on Windows securely? I don't use NFS. That share is actually Samba to Windows. So the Samba share is protected by group ownership. So group ownership, you got to be in the right group for that to work. So hopefully that clears that up for you. But no, I would not use NFS to connect to Windows. It's the same. It is interesting though. Interestingly enough, it's a good point to note. If I CD back to here, and I do show mount -E, and then I do that same test. So there's that, and then I test parm. So that is the NFS mounting of it in case any of my servers need to grab it over Linux communication, right? NFS. But here, when I go this way, this is if anybody wants to connect either on the Linux to Windows side with Samba, but on the Linux to Linux side, we can connect to this via CIFS, CIFS, right? So CIFS is the communication protocol we could use for that. But I could mount these over Samba via CIFS to Linux boxes as well. I have no reason to because I have NFS, right? But if you had a requirement in your organization and you had a policy that stated we will have this security posture, we will not run Samba anywhere for whatever security reasons, then maybe we only run NFS and we lock down NFS. Hey, Outcasted Wanderer, how's it going? I like the little dance meme, or I don't know what that is, a little dance emoji or caricature or whatever. But yeah, so we were talking about the courses, right, guys? The courses are there for you. They're free. Discord is there for you guys. That's free. I'll link Discord for people that are interested, right? Like the goal of our group is to get people into doing this stuff professionally. Most of us do this stuff at least for fun. I mean, I'm doing this for fun here, but it's also like for us to kind of hang out and do, like I want to see people get into this stuff professionally, right? I want to see people kind of do that. All right. Anyways, I can pull up my camera too. I had my camera off, but I didn't really need it off. But let's go keep playing with Proxmox. How is our server build going? By the way, there's more information. I now see lab storage here. I could probably migrate this guy over to lab storage once he gets built up. But let's just for now go look at his console. He's done. We can reboot him. Rebooting him, I imagine, will disconnect the ISO automatically, so that's probably good. Remember that ISO was just mounted locally. I didn't do an NFS mount. I put him local. But let's see if he can boot. That grub boot is the same one that I just saw a little while ago, so I know that that'll work. And let me pull up my... Did I close down StreamerBot earlier? pop this up just so we have it up in case anybody has anything. All right, so we got user. He's connected. Let's see what network he got. So we go root, give him a password that we gave earlier, and then now here we say IP-BR ADDR, and he is 192.168.11.73. So if I were a little more astute, I would come 73. Yep. So we go here, and we could go from this guy SSH to 192 root at, well, we're already root 192.168.11.73, right? Say yes, we want to connect his root. Oops, that's not a real command. Didn't connect anyways. Ah, I can almost guarantee you. Let's see. CD to Etsy SSH vi Etsy SSHD underscore config. Oops. Oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. SSHD underscore config, and then root. And root login is not prohibited, or it's not allowed without a password, and we're just going to change that to yes. And then systemctl restart SSHD. This is fine. This box isn't going to exist much longer. We're going to turn on the ability to, so SSH does not by default anymore nowadays allow root to connect in. That is a very good security posture for an organization. I should never be allowing in an organization root to just jump around. Because if anybody ever compromises root's keys, they can just jump in to any box. Well, we don't allow that. We have to jump in as a user and then sudo up, but for the home lab here, I don't care. Should be able to get right in if I know the password, which I don't. There we go. And then over here, you'll see this is me echoed to the wall because I sent it as root to everybody in the system. So all the users are in there. Samaria, I didn't check. No, I didn't check, but that's how you turn it on right there. For anybody that doesn't know, it's just permit root login. Yes, that's the main way that we disable that in SSH. And then I just enabled it, but this box is not long for the world, guys. He's gonna live for the next few minutes here. We're gonna do a couple of things to play with him. This is actually interesting to me. He's up, right? I am connected to him here, and on him, I'm gonna first. Let's change his name. He's just not set name. Oh, what is that? Hold on. I thought it was set name. Where's it at? Oh, maybe it's just the host name now. I thought it was set. Now, there he is. So he's got the right name. If I could push my keys over, right? I could do that if I wanted to. But let's play with this real quick. I'm gonna say while true, do sleep 2, do date sleep 2, done. So he's gonna sit here, and I'm connected to him right now, and we're gonna watch that date pop right there, right? That's just gonna run. And then now, while he's running here, I'm going to do something here because I'm just curious. I haven't played with Proxmox to see, but I'm going to take him and I'm going to see if I can move him, because my understanding is I should be able to move him to that other storage, and I just want to see if that'll work. So can I move him from the storage he's on over to the storage over there? I may have to turn him off to do that, but I'm kind of curious if I can do that, or could I replicate him? Oh, you need 2 nodes for that. Okay. Could I back him up to the other storage? Storage can go to local. I don't want to do that. Let's see what options we have. I kind of want to move him from the disk he's on over to the other one. We might have to turn him off to be able to do that. Take a snapshot. Nah, We don't need any of that. Okay. I just thought I'd see if I could move him over because he's on this one. He's on this local, and we want to move him up to this lab storage. We want to go. Hey, Colchis, how's it going? We're just we're playing around in here. I'm connected to a server that we built. We mounted we mounted the local for anybody that wasn't here. We went to a Proxmox. We went to a shell, and we said, let's mount our local ISOs off of hostbox that is normally mounted as an NFS ISO in XCP-NG. And once we did that, we then copied that data over. In fact, we might even have a history of commands here. We copied that over to this ISO that we had into this varlib vz template ISO, and then what that allowed us to do then was see it right here. So that's all we did, right? Didn't do nothing too crazy. Eventually, I'll figure out, because I'm sure there's a way in here to just mount that as an NFS ISO. Actually, technically, I could just mount it right over the top of that if I wanted to, and then they'd all be there. So we might do that in the future. I don't know if drag and drop works in this. Probably not. No, none of that stuff. At least probably doesn't have any option for that. So what I'm curious, though, is what are my options over here? I can reboot, pause, hibernate, stop, reset. All right, same kind of things. I could probably clone it. I bet I can clone it to that other. So target node Proxmox name, resource pool. Can't change the pool. Can't change the name. Target storage. I want to change the storage over to lab storage. So I could move him up there. And all the boxes we're going to build when we start doing the Ansible automation are going to be in that lab storage. That's where we're going to churn data out in there. There's a place you can select to upload ISOs. Yeah. That would definitely be cool. I was just trying to get off of the NFS. But I could also, I do have it local. And I was showing you guys that in my machine, I have Samba. So ISOs also show up here. The reason this is so useful to me is I can download stuff here while I'm talking to you guys, and I've done this on stream before, and I can just drop it in here, and then it'll be over on hostbox, right? And then it's also NFS shared, and then it immediately shows up, well, in the older cluster, it shows up here, and I could go to like storage, and I can go to NFS ISO library, or if I was just, let's go to like a node. If I wanted to on a node to connect a disk, and I wanted to get it from that NFS ISO library, there's all my ISOs right there. So I have everything. It's everything in the network's connected for kind of showing people how this stuff works. So yeah. On this side, it's Samba. This side, it's NFS, but it's pointing at the same. It's in the middle, it's the same thing, but it's NFS shared and it's Samba shared. Samba to connect to Windows boxes with server message block, and then, which is SMB, which is where Samba gets its name. In case anybody wonders. And then SMB was written by Microsoft in the early, I think like 92, which is not far away from, kind of when everything was happening. Linux was coming out and all that kind of stuff. Unix had been around, though. So Unix had been around for, 22 years at that point. But Microsoft was realizing that they had to play because they're a big, Linux is a huge player in this world, right? Like storage, backend, high performance compute, all the things that I do. Linux is all there. Okay, so I'm going to say that I can't migrate this live to a different local storage, but I could definitely snapshot it. Well, let's see. No, I could clone it. I could probably clone it over there. If I hibernate it, that's going to stop working. Okay, I was just curious. This this wasn't a thing that we needed, right? It's just kind of nice to see that. Like I can go to the console, I can see the system, I can see my broadcast messages from this other directly connected system, and everything then in the lab is working as we want. The last thing to do then with this part of it is we're down in root Ansible playbooks Proxmox, where I'm going to start connecting into that and doing things. So I got to find out. So this is how I like to learn things. There's all kinds of ways to read this. I can go read I can go -L should show them all. Right, I could probably find all the Proxmox stuff right here, and I can guarantee you there's more modules here than there are over in the. I also have an older version of Ansible on here, so it's not going to be as new. I might want to build this over on. You know what? Hold on. We're going to go to my newer node that does more stuff. We'll do it over here. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Maybe we'll do it down here. Because Streams already has the... This already has all my Linux stuff in here, so I might do it out of here. This has a lot of my stuff that I've just written over the years on stream and stuff to kind of show you guys. And then if any of you guys missed it, I was showing this earlier. We were down here. I was showing you guys, this was just me pulling it out of the box, right? Putting it in the server rack. This is the server rack at home. I know it's dusty, but it was going right here. And then spun it. Here's the stuff all out everywhere. Here's it in the rack. And then we booted it up. It was under an hour for start to finish. Out of the box and running with me sitting at my desk here. It was under an hour. So I think it was perfectly fine and fast. And then we got up to a Proxmox login. I could see my connection. It told me how to connect 8006, which is what we're using. And then we're there. Okay. So what we need to do then is, again, I can go... Let's check for Proxmox here. I'm going to go grab some water real quick. Hold on. I got my water right here. My little home office. Tell everybody, the way I knew I had arrived, when I knew I had arrived was when I had a little... Once I had a little, what's it called in my office? A little, it's like a... It has like 180 watt. It can hold like 180 water bottles. It's a little half fridge. That's how I knew I had arrived. So look at all these things. Oh, proxy was too much. I should have probably been a little more Proxmox. But is there any Proxmox up here? Yeah, there's Proxmox. Okay, so look, I can all these things that I can read about, right? I prefer to do this though because I'm a little lazy. So Ansible Proxmox modules, right? And then what should happen here is drop in here, and then maybe here's the community Proxmox module, and then here's kind of the things that I can do. And I like to come down here and look at my, so there's going to be a VM ID. We can generate those. That's fine. That can be part of an inventory file. All of these names, node, API host. Okay. This is going to be where we're connecting to, and then probably password. So this stuff is going to come. That's interesting. I'll have to figure out which of these are which so we can go read about them. And then the host name and then the template that we're going to pull from. Okay. Yeah, none of this will be a problem. I think that'll be pretty straightforward to deploy. So all of these things can be pulled directly in from like an environment file. The reason that's useful is because one, I could have different environments. Like I was saying with setting this up and the fact that it handles, let's go look on network. So I'm not lying to you guys. I read this earlier, so I know the network can handle this. I should be able to have my own, I should be able to build my own VLANs. Yep. So if I can build VLANs, I can run Werewolf without affecting other nodes, right? Because a Werewolf DHCP cluster has to have his own. Basically, Werewolf's going to take over, and Werewolf doesn't play nice with other Werewolves. So that makes sense, I hope. So we'll put them in different VLANs, and then we'll give them, it'll probably be one Werewolf node for people to build. I'm going to have them build them. And then the two other nodes. But what I would like to do is when we're done with them, if people say, hey, Scott, I've done all my Werewolf stuff, we'll just tear it all down. So, that'll help me to gauge how much of this, how much capacity we're using and that kind of stuff. Because we have a lot of additional capacity, but I just don't want things sitting out there idle, if that kind of makes sense to you guys. Like we had 19 Rocky servers and 25 Hammer servers because that was the best way I could think to originally do it. Now we have a much smaller subset and people use them much more efficiently, but I would also like to build out some of these other things that are there. Under hardware, then move disks. Oh, let me see. Hold on. Hardware. And then, do I have to turn it off? I probably have to do, you're probably right about moving it, but you're probably right about moving it. I probably can move it here, but I probably have to have it off, I bet. So this other node, I think, is he still in there? Oh, let's see. I don't remember if I'm still connected or not. No. I must have jumped out of there. But if I had stayed in there, I would have seen that. So, okay. Also, one other thing, vi etc. Oh, no. root.sh known hosts shift G to the bottom. Let's get rid of him. There's no reason to remember him in my host file because maybe some other node pops up one day on 73 and I need to connect in. So, Coca said it's funny. There was booth at ATO that said something like managed solutions for Samba. I was like, what are you guys doing with server message block? And they said, no, it means small to medium. That's like, you know what? Colcus, this is a completely different thing, but you just triggered like a memory for me. I have always hated the acronym. I have always hated this one acronym, SOHO. Have you guys all heard SOHO? Small office, home office, small office, home office router, small office, home office, whatever. I've always hated that term. I don't know why. I literally don't know why, but it just has always bugged me. So when you said SMB and they're talking about small to medium businesses, that made me think of SOHO. All right, drinking water. Yeah. So this is good. Let's play with them then. Let's turn them off. Let's go ahead and shut them down. Let's see what the shutdown looks like, how long it takes. We don't need to jump back into them. We could watch at the console what that looks like. If the console is just dead immediately, cool. Okay, so it says he's not running. Let's go to hardware, and let's see if we could either add disks. No, we don't want to do that. If he's down, maybe we got to refresh the page. And that may be one of those little things that's kind of annoying about some of this is maybe we have to refresh because we're dealing in a web browser instead of a thing. Can we move him? Those are interesting. He's got no tags. We could put tags on him. That'll be useful for when we're building stuff. We may want to tag the exact time that they start. Well, maybe to like the day. And then maybe we have something that comes around later and reaps stuff after a week or something. Maybe that'll be a way to do the werewolf stuff. Never heard this one. It was placed in it. Now I see. Okay. Disk under hardware. So hardware, disk, edit. And then can we... He's on local LVM. Okay. Can we change that? Okay. I think we're on the right thing. Move storage. There we go. And could we target him over to the lab storage and move that disk? So let's see. I'm curious, right? Disk action. Yeah, I see. That's cool. And it shows how much it's done. That's pretty cool. And it's 32 gigs, so that's interesting because I think it's also thin provisioned. I don't think it's using that whole amount. But I'd like to keep this the reason I'm moving it up to the lab storage one is I'd like to keep this local one for systems that are going to live there for real, if that makes sense. That is a RAID 1, so it's mirrored on RAID 1. So that's pretty safe. But then the lab storage is a RAID 5 of 6 disks. So there's 6 disks in a RAID 5, and we can just beat those up. We can beat them up. I don't care about those hardly at all. But at least those will be like more transient or ephemeral devices that come and go, right? If that kind of makes sense. Although there is one thing out there that will be real, which will be Hostbox. Hostbox will exist out there. Because he's got a terabyte or so of data in my lab that I care about, of home data, pictures all the way back. Oh shoot, how far do I have pictures back to? Maybe in the early 2000s, right? I have Army pictures that are very early 2000s, so that are in there. Anyway, so let's see. So he's there. He now sees himself on. Let's do a refresh here. I probably have a local refresh too, don't I? Hard disk. He sees himself on lab storage. Let's see if he boots with no problems. I imagine he does. I mean, that's a pretty robust little system. Now, you guys got to know, like, this is booting off of that disk, but when we start building and putting the lab servers over there, they will have disks, but they will not be booting off the disk. They will be booting off of the werewolf cluster. So the nodes that are doing werewolf stuff will be doing werewolf stuff. So I've never used OpenStack random walks, so I can't tell you if it's similar to Proxmox. I know OpenStack was like really the fire like 10 years ago, and then I haven't heard about it. When a lot of people were trying to get out of just running a lot of stuff in the in data centers and stuff. I know OpenStack was like king, but I want to just say, like, with cloud getting pretty good, a lot of people just run stuff in the cloud that I've seen. Yeah, I haven't played with OpenStack much. I mean, yeah, not to tell you for sure. And I know very little about Proxmox. I've been playing with it for about 20 minutes now. Okay, well, realistically, like an hour. But once we have this is a good start. Let's go see if we can find this other thing up on Proxmox. Do I see? Very curious. Since I put it in that location, do I see that somewhere in here? Is there a place where that name exists for me to like? Hold on. Nothing here. What I mean by that, what I'm looking for, guys, is here in the shell. We did a we moved this file here, right? And it's 11 gigs. And it's sitting there, and once it was sitting there, we could touch it from a build, right? So I need to find where that is on, I mean, I guess it's probably like, yeah, okay, here it is. Okay, so the reason I do that is I want to know, is this something, obviously it can always be seen, but is it there? Let's go do that other thing I was talking about. Let's go muck around and see if we can cheat a little bit. So we come back over here to Proxmox. We go, cd ls rm-rf, that guy, well, he's that, right? And then what we do is we umount mnt isos, and then we can just control shift R. Oh, no, it's going to reload the page. Can't do it. We'll go history grep-i mount, and then we'll say mount-t nfs 192.168.11.200, and then we're going to go to this path, var lib vz templates. Oh, no, sorry, that's isos over there, so I'm dumb. And then we're going to mount it to var lib vz templates isos. All right, if I do that, do I come back over here to local and see all of my isos? There we go. Oh, and then also apparently I turned that on. Well, I'm glad that was turned on because you guys didn't see me thinking I was very clever. But do you guys see how that's my NFS mounted ISOs right there? Now I can build anything I want in here. So that's cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I thought that would mount. Now, some of you that are more astute, I'm sure all of you noticed this. I just did that locally. If this box ever reboots, that's gone forever. So how do I make it that persistent? Well, we got the ability to mount NFS, so we got the mount helper for NFS, so we can just throw that in an etcfs tab file, and then that'll always pop up forever on that box, and I will always see all of my nodes from this other box right here. That's useful, right? Because then the storage is somewhere else. Although it's going to eventually move to be that location, that thing that we're doing is eventually going to move over onto this box, so then we can choose a different way to do that. I just don't want to lose. I mean, that's. Oh, I don't know. Here, we can do it this way. Where are we at here? Let's just do it this way. This is the easiest way to do it. ISOs is 79 gigs. So I don't want to waste 79 gigs of this local. So our local LVM storage here is only 362 gigs. I'm going to drop 79 of those gigs just holding ISOs that I'm also holding somewhere else. That's not super efficient. I'll probably, because I'm going to be moving host box here, and then it'll be mounted back on that box, but it'll just be stored up here in lab storage. So that's where we'll do that. So, I mean, it's one of these things where it's like, it's not that you're trying to be like super precise and efficient in a home lab all the time, but what is important to me is that I don't have to go moving stuff later. I always joke around about the free cell problem, and some of you guys are going to hear about the free cell problem soon in the automation course for sure. I'm surprised I didn't say it in the administration course. But what the free cell problem is it? Have any of you guys ever played the game Free Cell? It's a solitaire game, and then you're trying to move all the cards up to the top right, typically, and then on the top left, you've got 4 free cells. And you can only move as many cards as you have free cells to move the cards, and then you could move one over, and then technically you're moving them back. And if you lock up all your free cells, you can't move stuff anymore. And I always in my head, when I'm thinking about like moving data between like an old storage and a new storage that's much bigger, but then I've got some stuff that's like intermediate between it, I always think of the free cell problem, like how we're moving things around. So there's that. Yeah. Stefan, I just bought this server on Amazon, and it just came in today. So yeah, this guy's a pretty beefy little, he's a little chonky box compared to the rest of my lab. I had a 128, a 128, a 128, and a 32. So this guy is bigger than all my other systems put together in that context. We're still going to keep the other ones, but we're going to start kind of deprecating and moving off of some of these other lab environment servers. Plus, it's aging hardware. I mean, some of my hardware is 5, 6 plus years old now, probably almost 7 years old. Some of my older servers have been moved out because they were still public facing, and I've moved them out. And now the servers that are public facing are, Rocky 9. They're hardened. They are kept up to date. Well, I got to patch them now that I think about it. But we're going to move over here, and we're going to start to run the labs out of this newer hardware for sure. So that's the goal. Yeah. And this box was, funny enough, this box was twice as much as the rest of my lab put together. All the rest of my lab, probably under $700. This system was about $1,600 shipped. Well, shipping was free, the tax and stuff. Man, anybody remember like 10 years ago you could buy anything online with no taxes? And then people were like, wait a minute, we need to get our hand in that cookie jar. We've got our hand in every other jar, but we don't have a hand in that internet jar. If you guys ever watched any of the old South Park where they're like, we need to get some of that internet money. They were making fun of Canadians, but it's still pretty good. All right, so that moved over there. It looks like that booted back up. Yep, box is back up. Let's check a couple things. Normally, we're not. No, that wasn't the right password at all. And let's go here, and then IP BR ADDR, and he's still 73, so he's got a preferred IP address in that environment. All right. So we have that built. We have an option with this guy. This Rocky test can become a real server right now if we want. I need to build a box called Hostbox 2. So Hostbox has always been in my environment. He's sent to S7. He's the one that I was just showing you all those ISOs on. This box, if we patch him up and just rename him, can become Hostbox 2, and he could be a real server, and he can continue to exist if we want. Let's do this real quick. Let's do a DNF update. We're not going to give it a -y. I want to see what it wants to download and do. Let's see what this server, it's probably thousands, right? Because it's a 9.4 box, and we're up on Rocky 9.6 right now as the common release. So there's 575 packages. The total download size is 1.5 gigs. Can we afford that? Let's say no. DF-H. When I say afford, I mean we've got 20 gigs of space down here. I know this is a little small. We could do it over here. We'll do it right here. We'll go back. We'll remember him. I don't want to be that guy that does stuff in the console. It's hard to look at for you guys. So I'm in Rocky Test 1, DNF update. Let's see. I think it should kept the meta. Yeah. So he wants a new kernel. That's important to note. So he does want a kernel. We see that here. He's gonna be taking a new kernel. Let's go ahead and give him the update. Let's boot him, or we'll give him the full update, and then we'll kick him over. But we'll do some stuff real quick. I'll show you some things that maybe for people that don't do a lot of Red Hat administration. Rocky's very similar to Red Hat. You guys can look at some of that if you want. And sorry guys, I'm not trying to ignore chat. I've just been kind of, I get super hyper focused, and plus I haven't streamed in a while, so I figured I'd get on here and kind of show you guys a little bit of stuff. I'm just playing around with it. I've literally never used this interface before, so we're using it now to get familiar with it. But then most of our interactions, as we are as engineers, guys, we play with stuff like this because it's fun and visual. But then when we want to like get the real work done, and I'm not saying you can't do real work here, guys. especially early on in your career, there's a very valid, like you're doing help desk and you're doing just remediation of stuff and you're going in and you're getting in vSphere and rebooting servers and checking them and making sure they're up in storage. And sure. There's all kinds of stuff here. But when we're building stuff, hold on, what's it say? Yeah, we'll accept that. When we're building stuff, eventually, we're going to be doing it all automated. We're not going to be, we're very rarely going to look at this unless it's just a visual that I want to show you guys because it's kind of cool to look at. So hopefully that makes sense. It's almost like this is fun for playing around in visual and stuff online here, but like when it's time to like, you know, pull up our pants and do real engineering work, it's going to be over here. We're going to build our stuff out like this. It's like I can't do anything without Fisherman catching me and giving me a hard time. Yes, Fisherman, we're in Proxmox. The total setup time of this was probably under an hour. Well, if we take off the time that I was downloading it, which was like it took like 45 minutes to download it. I was watching Twitch at the time, so it probably took a little longer than it needed to. I used, if you guys aren't familiar, I use a tool called Balana Etcher, B-A-L-A-N-A, I think that's how you would say it. I just used that, and I just made basically one of these, right? The server was super easy, right? I pulled it upstairs. It was 50 pounds or so, so it was like lug it up the stairs, and then it kind of looked like this in the box. They had that cool little foam. You guys ever seen those little, they put these little plastic things down and they fill them up and then they put the server in there. They fill up part of them, then they fill them up the rest of the way and it perfectly forms to the server. So that was the server. This is the dirty, dusty rackets going in. This, whoops, and then this was the server out of the box. And then this was the server in the rack right there. He's the only clean one. And then we booted him up. And he's got about 500 gigs in a mirror. So, and then this was it booting up the first time right here. So under an hour, I was back at my desk, just logged into it. So it was pretty straightforward, pretty simple. That's still running. What I was going to show you guys is he has in him for storage. He's got this local box, or this is a mirrored disk. And I don't know, it's showing 362 gigs, but I think it's a little bigger than that. And then this lab storage is about 3 terabytes. That's what you get with RAID 5. He's actually about 4.6 raw terabytes of disks, but
I can answer that for money.
Yeah, Fisherman, I can do that. I can give you that. What do we use? We'll talk on Discord, but I can do that. I will yeah. Actually, I can make that real quick. That can run, guys. And then I can jump over to, here's my jump box, right? And then all I would do is, let's grep for fish from Etsy. Etsy. I don't think I've made him over here. Yeah. So all I would do is do like a user add, Fisherman Guy Bro, which is probably his whole personality, right? And then pass WD. Yeah, he's going to use a key, so it'll be easy for him to get connected. So pass WD Fisherman Guy Bro, and I'll just give it some password. Let's do. Okay, so that's updated. And then what I would do is I would, I tend to, guys, I like to do this stuff. I'm very much like a, I'll VI Etsy group. Whoops. I'll VI the right word. And then I'll go to wheel. And then I'll come here and I'll drop his user right here in, whoops. Should be comma. Wheel. Yep. Whoops. Why does he have, oh shit. Okay, good. So now he's in wheel. And then if we do sudo -l -U fisherman -u fisherman Guy Bro, that'll show that he can run any command on the server, right? That's your whole existence in one. Yeah, and then what he'll do, guys, so you guys know, this box has the ability to jump in with keys. He can go in there and he can sudo up to root. So I'll have to send him that password, right? I'll have to send him the password. That I'll probably change it so that it's unique to him, but then he'll be able to get in there and he'll, yeah. And actually, let's go fix that. So on this box, let's go down here. Let's do it. Yeah, he does need a no pass WD. So that's no password. So right here, if we have, so what I really need to do is, so in wheel, he'll get wheel, but without a password. So I can just change wheel, or I can just go like this and just steal my account, right? And it says, oh, you're changing a read-only file. And it's like, I do what I want. Right? And then I go here and I look, and now he has all no password. He also has all, but without needing a password. But yeah, I just give him that. Now, what I just did right there, and I like to acknowledge this, is don't do it. Get your hand slapped in the real world if you do that. In the industry, you will lose your job for that. You can't give some. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, fisherman. It's like I'm acknowledging a thing so that everybody knows, like, in some way I am a serious professional Linux user. But then in other ways I'm completely not, right? But no, this is absolutely not something we would normally do. Yeah, we just want to show you how not to do it. Exactly right. So then fisherman can jump into this box and do all the things that he needs to do to be able to call back and run cron jobs and stuff like that. If you ever need to limit cron jobs for users, you can actually do that. I can't do it to him because now he's going to be able to do stuff as root. I can limit his user to not every touch cron, and that's in Etsy. It's actually surprisingly in Etsy security access, not access, access.conf. And if I go to the bottom of this, you can see that I can add users. I can also remove all users from having access. If I put this at the bottom of the file, if I uncomment this, no users can log into the server anymore. Not even root. But I can give root permission above it. But the access.conf is this tremendously useful thing for us to give people the ability to do certain things in a server. So I actually use this a lot with, as he just mentioned, service accounts. Fisherman, you know what? Actually, hold on. I got something turned off that I should turn on. Where's my chat? Twitch chat. Ah, it's down here in the bottom left, real small. I need to put a. Let me see if I can put a filter behind this. Let me see if I can make a little effect filter that's like. Let's see if I can put something behind it. Okay. And color, dark. Okay. Close. Does that put a little filter behind that? No, I gotta play with that. I wanna have this so you guys can see what people are saying in chat, but I don't want it. I need to put a little filter behind it so that it I have to figure out how to do that, but like put a little background. Let me see if I can do that real quick. It doesn't matter. But then I can have it right here, and it's not really taking up too much space. You guys should be able to see that, right? But then I want it to have so you guys can actually see what you're saying. I guess you know what? Hold on, I can do this. I'll do this. I think this would be acceptable to most of you. Most of you would be like, all right, I can at least see what we're talking about. There you go, boom. So then if anybody's wondering what's going on over on the Twitch side, this is what people are saying. Agent, could you, so I don't know all the things you can limit them to in there, but I know for sure in access.conf I limit what people can log into server-wise, and then also if they can use cron. I'm sure there's other things that you can do in here. That's the limitation that I've done with it. That's the limitation I've used it for professionally. We could probably dig in sometime and see. I bet you the guys probably have done some pretty cool stuff. But you can allow users to come in, and you can allow some other stuff to happen. So specifically logins and cron. Those are the ones that I normally use it for. So yeah. So that's interesting. And Fisherman may have used it more than me even in his career. But typically what I do is so if you guys want to hear, like in my career, things that I've very, very stupid, simple things that work really well. But we don't want to, as Linux engineers, if we're integrating with like, and I always use the example of my 200 dev teams. When I was running platform engineering for all of AAA, that's a big company. We had like 200 different dev teams doing stuff all over the place. Building environments, prod, dev, just a massive amount of stuff going on. So what we did, I don't want to be in the business of letting users in from the company. I want our identity and access management team to do that. So what I use this file for, there's this really easy thing you can do here. It kind of actually talks about it right here. Only users from like a group, right? So users from a group. And what I would do is every server I built through Ansible, I would tag with like the server name. So this is P01 Jump 01 or P01 Jump 02. And whenever a server got built, it would get tagged to a name of the server. So there would be a group for the name of the server, and then typically like a group that built it. Let's say the team, the dev team. And then that's kind of like the way I always use it. Have you guys ever seen, have you ever been outside and let's say, what is that called? You guys ever seen this where people will put like a key on the outside of a house? They'll put like one of these little things. You guys ever seen one of these? And it'll just sit outside of the house, and then when the realtor wants to show the house, they don't have a key to that house, but that thing has a key and they have the code, and then they open it. Well, what this file essentially was I didn't have to be in the business of identity access management in my company anymore. I would build this file on the fly for every server that I built for the company. So when you went to the little gumball machine and said, give me a server, you push a little button inside of your tool and it rolled a little server down like a little gumball. You would get all your team's accesses through this file, and I would just automate it. Now, here's the thing. New people on the team wouldn't be added to the group yet, so they wouldn't be able to get access to the servers. So then we'd tell that team, go tell your identity and access management team to put that user in the group, and then all their accesses would just flood open. But it's the idea that I could do this instead of being in the business. I do not want to be in the business of controlling all the users in the company. That is not, I assure you guys, there's no part of me in engineering that has ever been like, oh, I'd love to look at user lists all freaking day. God, that makes more of my hair that's already gray going more gray, right? I do not want to do that. I'd bet most of you don't either, if you want to do systems work, right? So I just do this, right? I just go drop it right here and then give access. Anyways, and then by the way, and then that other line is always in play at the bottom. You have to turn this, you have to uncomment this, but then we deny all other access. You're either root coming in, or you're one of those groups, or GTFO, you better come in some other way. You better have some reason to be in that server. And that's how we used to do. That was layered security, but that's how we gave access right there. And it was very much analogous to one of those locks on the front of the house that only certain people had a code to get into. So kind of a thing to do. Yeah, you could use user mod to put people in the group, sure. But the access.conf is how you limit that on the system. So anyways, Fisherman will have access here in a few minutes. Use newer sudo alternatives like DZDO where they can centrally manage it. Nice. Yeah, Fisherman, the way I did sudo, I've always professionally done sudo, is in here. And then like in this case, I've got Telegraph in there. And Telegraph has certain permissions, but I deployed this file via Ansible. Right, so Ansible can deploy that file and it can remove that file if I do or don't want Telegraph to have permissions. In this case, Telegraph needed to be able to do fail to ban commands. And here's the fail to ban commands it needed to be able to do to be able to work and pull information that it does in my environment. Random walks. You said, how do I give root access to someone? They would have the permissions that they need down in here. I would make a file for them. In this case, the file is Telegraph, and then they would have typically the very specific commands that they were allowed to do right here. They are set in the command alias here, fail to ban. Then the user is given the ability to do fail to ban commands. That's what no password fail to ban can execute all of these things right here. And then the other things that they cannot do for sure is any of these other things, right? And then that's just the message that popped up. So yeah, this is the file right here. You could also, right here, you could list the commands, but it's cleaner to put them on their own line with a command alias. It's a little more. But then this whole file can be added or removed for me to give you permissions. And I can give those permissions to either a user in this case or to a whole group with an @ sign. Because all anything in etc sudoers.d is it's appended to the end of the sudoers file. So then if I needed to check sudo-l-U telegraph, what does the Telegraph user have the ability to do in my environment? Only these commands right here. And only with no password, or with no password. So this is, by the way, I tell you guys this often. This is one of the most useful commands I ever found in my career. Sudo -l -U and then a username. Just a super nice way to just see how is the system going to parse out the user's permissions. So, all right. So we've moved. Let's see what we've done. We've moved this. We've done this. This guy, let's see. He's running. Can we rename him while he's running? We don't need to rename him now. That's fine. Let's go jump back into him. Where are we at? Here. Okay. Let's do a couple of things. Let's do a uname -r. This is what came with the system. But then let's go do an ls in boot. And we see that there is, so we're on 5.14.0427 13.1. 0427 13.1. Oh gosh, there's a much newer version. Look at this guy. That's a much newer version than what we're at. So the system installed a new kernel. I can also verify that by looking at the kernel. I see the older kernel here, and I see the newer kernel here as far as the devel and the tools and stuff like that. And I would need some of these if I were building. You definitely need like headers and devel to build, like if you're doing like InfiniBand and things that are going to build kernel modules, you need the actual headers and development tools for that to work. But the system is still back on the old kernel. He needs to reboot to come to the new kernel. How do we go? So this is a little thought process. What we used to do back in the day is we would have to update the grub entry to boot off of the new disk or off of the new kernel, right? And we don't want to do that nowadays. In fact, most modern Linux does not want you manually editing the grub file. So now I love this file. I love this command. This is one of my favorite commands, grubby. And I can say, grubby, what is the default kernel? And the default kernel, the kernel that my system is going to boot to the next time this boots, is not the one that it's on. And some of you guys probably see that and go, ah, that's an automation I could do, isn't it? Yeah, that's actually an automation that I do. Let's go back here. Why am I not in my jump box for so many nodes? I don't know. Like the nodes that say they're jump boxes aren't jump boxes. Let's go over here and go to, oh, where is it? Patching. And then when we go to roles, don't worry about all that stuff. Those are just notes. I should throw those in their own. Let's go to reboot tasks. How do we reboot servers in my environment? Well, we go and we check for the default kernel. So that's a command you just saw me run. And it gave me the kernel that the system wants to go to, right? And then, hold on, I already know the kernel. So I've set the kernel reboot needed to false. It's false. And then I check the version of the kernel and I get a variable. Then I come down here and Ansible already from gather facts knows the kernel on the system. That's that uname-r. It's the same thing. And if the uname-r is not in the output of where the kernel wants to boot to, I set the reboot needed to true. Guys, what I'm doing is not super clever. All I'm doing is saying, if this kernel is not in what it wants to go to, we set the system to reboot, and then we reboot the system only when it's needed. That's all I did. It was the logical this right here. It was the logical testing. Is this inside of this? And it would be inside of it if it was the same number, but it's a newer number. So yeah, Fisherman. Yeah, I tell you guys all the time, I do stupid, simple stuff and people pay me a bunch of money for it. And I'm just like, all right, but I'm going to show other people how to do this. And they're like, okay, if they want to. And then most people just don't want to do the command line because it bores them to death or something. But for me, I'll do this all day and just sit here with my madness. Let's do a couple things. df-h, see how much storage we have. We use a little bit of storage. Most of that got used down in var cache because the stuff that we downloaded should have come in here. Maybe it cleaned up after, but this is you would have seen this blowed up as it downloaded the files. You can also so it depends how you want to patch in your environment. Do you want to pull everything down and have it staged and then just run it and clean it up? There's a lot of different ways that you can do it, and it really depends on the bandwidth usage, both of the upstream, like out to the WAN, and then in the local area network, how much you want to push stuff around. while you're patching, or pull stuff around as you're patching. That's the talk for a different day, I guess, but that's something to think about if you guys are systems engineers, like in the real world. So if you want to do this and keep systems running. All right, so we've patched that. Let's reboot them. Boom. Reboot. We'll see him boot over here. We can ping him here. But we got to ping him by number. Also, fun fact, this is booting super fast over here because, well, one is a brand new machine, but Proxmox is obvious. It's also, Proxmox is booting much faster than XCP-NG is. I mean, that thing's like an old Buick. It takes, 30 minutes to warm up and stop dieseling pretty much. It's already up, man. All right, well. Oh, that's, man. That's pretty fast, guys. I mean, I'm used to taking about 3 minutes in my environment to come up, and that just came up in, if I had to guess, I don't know, for sure under 14 seconds, because that was the boot time. So for sure, let's say under 20 seconds, right, from boot to running, because it took me a little while to type that. And then I got everybody texting me right now too. Let's go back over here. So we'll SSH back in. We didn't push a key because we weren't going to need it. But if you guys want to see how a key works, if you've never touched keys or done anything with keys, I'm on the node that I want to connect to. I'm on the server, the box, the whatever. You'll hear me call them all kinds of things. And if I cd to root.ssh, there's nothing in here. Is there anything hidden? Nothing hidden, right? And I'm going to jump back out again to my Proxmox server. And in here, there's a bunch of keys. I have a bunch of keys that I use from Jump01. And so for me to jump into that server, well, let's do a couple of things. Well, we'll start with the key. The way we used to do it is we'd have to copy our public key over there into the authorized keys file. I don't want to do any of that. Now there's a tool that'll do like 10 things for us. It's SSH copy ID, right? And then we're going to go to 192.168.11.245. And it'll say, hey, if you've got the password, I'll put the key over there. So, oops, hopefully I know the password. If I know the password. Maybe I don't know the password. I literally just did the password 30 times. Oh. You guys gotta stop me. I just tried to log into my own server. Anyways, it pushes the keys over. Now, what did it push? On my system here, in root.ssh, I have those keys I was just telling you about. The key that I would never show you is the ID_RSA. That's my private key. But the public key, I can share far and wide. So the public key is what was pushed over there. So now I'm going to SSH back over there, and it's going to immediately connect. And when it does, if I cd into root.ssh again, where you guys just saw me in there with nothing in there, I'm going to do an ls-la, and there now will be something in here, guys. And it will be that authorized key file. And watch this. It is the exact same file.
Don't panic is a contraction. It means do not panic. Donuts have existential dread from having a permanent home, but they learn that they are actually sweet. Otherwise they'd be a bagel and come to terms with it. Bagel is also a contraction for a bagel. They can fly so they don't care. Also, my password is you shall not pass.
That's pretty good. I like that, Tani. How's it going, Tani? It's been a while. Hopefully this stuff is useful to you. We just unboxed a new server in my home lab, so I've been throwing up Proxmox on it and just kind of checking stuff out. I was showing people. We just patched it. Now we're rebooting it. Now we're gonna give it its forever name. So I can press up a few times here. Probably find that host name. Oh, this, by the way, this is my terminal, so I can control Shift R in here, right? And the host name is gonna be hostbox 2. So he's gonna end up being hostbox 2. Oh, also since I did control Shift R, it popped that up. Normally you guys gotta do !ask and it'll do that. Just close 6-figure deal for a startup. Nice. Tani, I didn't know you were doing a startup. I knew you were working for SANS for a long time doing security stuff. That's nice. I'm helping some friends get SOC 2 compliant right now. So I'm doing some stuff on the side around SOC 2 compliance and ISO 27001 compliance. Yeah. Nice, nice. No, that's awesome, Tani. Yeah, I need to have, so you guys know we always do the middle of the year in August. We always do our big event, but we also do kind of a big holiday event too. So sometime around Christmas, I'm gonna need to start getting speakers to come down again. And Tani, if you ever want to come speak, I'll fit you in. I give you guys a crisp $50 Amazon gift card for coming and talking to the group. So that's awesome. Yeah, took in more revenue. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's good stuff. But yeah, I typically give the speakers something for their time. I say, hey, if you can amuse these guys for an hour and a half. And if you guys don't know where to find those, if you're ever wondering, and you say, oh, hey, there's different public speakers coming in, we've got all the events right here in the Discord. So there's a Bash study group coming up. There's our security engineering. We're in Unit 4 right now, right? Security engineering. There's our 16-week automation course. We're in Unit 3 right now. We're going to Unit 4. Late night Bash study, writer's room, my home lab maintenance where I'm doing additive stuff here, so I'm not taking away from anything that's old, but I am getting prepped for when the lab maintenance happens. I turn off the Bastion node so nobody can connect. I stop connections and then come over. But this is the one coming up. So James, he's one of my former students. He's coming to talk to you about his IT career and AI. He is now an IT director of optimization at a pretty good sized U.S. nationwide firm on. They do what's it called? He was mostly explaining it as they do a lot of doctor reading and stuff, but they do medical equipment and that kind of stuff everywhere. So he has been going out most of his career and doing stuff, but now he's kind of managing people, and he's got this IT director title. And then he's going to tell you guys about the things that they're doing with AI, because they have a couple of really cool AI things that they've implemented in their practices that have made things better and done. And it's one of these things where, like, I know everybody wants to talk about AI and they want to talk about it at like the coolness factor, but his company is turning it into like saved doctor's hours, saved doctor's visits, like not doctor visits, like people still have to come in and get like their x-rays done and stuff, but it is doing a lot of the work and making things more accurate and better. Some of you guys have seen, like, I think on Kaggle they even had a competition where it was like somebody's back or a bunch of backs, and can you detect the skin cancer? And there's AI that's really good at that now because they have these kind of things. So it's an interesting thing, right? Like everybody wants to do it for the fun and the wow factor and the making money factor, but there's also all these other things that are making money and also hopefully making life better for people. So that's kind of cool, right? I even tell people when we talk about like Internet of Things. I mean, could you even imagine? I don't know if anybody here has ever had anybody in their family that had insulin or like diabetes like 30 years ago, and they're like sitting there sticking needles in their stomach and making sure that they're, there's all kinds of, they got to pump themselves full of insulin. Nowadays, you can wear a little armband on your arm, and it can keep track of that stuff for you, and it'll pump you full of insulin for months without ever even changing. They have a tremendous amount of that kind of stuff now. So anyways, there's interesting, like, quality of life things that are really changing. Like, I don't know if any of you guys, it's an interesting read to go see the story of like insulin in general. That's an interesting story. How that was first introduced and when they were first testing it on people. But anyways, where I'm going with that is he's coming to talk about two things that I think people really need is, like, what does an IT career look like? And every time I have people come and talk about that, it's all kinds of different ways. He did some college. He was a Marine. He's been all over. He was in Fallujah quite a few times, and that's not pretty. So he'll talk about whatever you guys want him to talk about, but obviously mostly the IT stuff, and then the what's going on with AI in that space. So I think that's kind of cool. Anyway, so that's stuff that we're doing in the lab. So anyway, so we've changed his name. Let's jump in. His name is now Hostbox2. We need to give him an IP address. So the easiest way for me to do that, let's go down here. And the current host box has 200. Where's he at? There he is. He's 200. So maybe host box 2 You might get 205. But let's go check. That's outside of my DHCP range in my home network. And then, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's in my infrastructure range that I use, right? So we'll give him 205. So over here, we can set him up to no longer, he's not going to play in the DHCP space anymore. So how are we going to do that? Well, one, we want to make sure anytime you guys do networking and anytime you do anything with permissions, typically, you need to make sure that you have a secondary way to get back into the server. So I do over here. I'm in the box, and maybe I do something like while true do. There we go. So maybe don't worry about what I'm doing over there. All right, that's gonna keep popping up over there. Let's come over here and let's do some maintenance while that's gonna spin over there. You're just gonna see that spin because it's just checking his IP address. Over here, let's go and hostbox 2. There he is. So oh, they don't want you to use this anymore. They want you to use NM. Okay. So here's my connection. So EN. Oh man, what a name.
The doc is using Proxmox. Someone pinch me.
Yeah, actually, Quartz, if you got here a little late, I'll just keep doing this for people. I pulled out of the box the new server earlier. There's it in the box. There's the part of the rack it's going to. There's it out of the box. And there's it in its little rack. So I know it's not some great story, but then that was me booting it up, putting Proxmox on it. Pretty straightforward and easy to get going. This was the first boot command line as it booted up. Thought that was pretty fun. And then watched it boot after I made all my choices. Here's it running. I was back to my desk in under an hour. So I was at my desk. So that was the last thing I did before I walked out of my gym. Because it's in my if you guys don't know, my little half rack sits in the gym. And then that's me back at my box, back at my server. And then we had the basic disk stuff set up. Since we've been here, we built a little box just messing around. We have done all kinds of weird stuff to the server. So we mounted the NFS ISO so that we can see when we come here to, where's the ISOs at? I don't know. Wherever the ISOs are, we can see them. We can see them here now. I don't know where that is. But we put all that stuff in here. I don't even know. It might show up under disks. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it is, but maybe repositories. I don't know. I don't know where we put it. We can definitely see it here in the shell. Right, we got it mounted. We just mounted it right where the ISOs are. So, use Kubernetes to manage. Nice. What? How many CPUs is it seeing? Oh yeah. So so they're multi-core. I think there's actually 20 actual CPUs in it, but that's what it's seeing. And then its RAM, it's 512 gigs of RAM, but it's showing as 503 gigabytes, right? Yeah, that's how you say that. And then yeah, so we're going. Yeah, we're seeing what we can get out of it. Was it storage on the left side? Oh yeah, that's where it was. Yeah, you're right. It was over here, and it was local. And then here's all the ISOs. So all the ISOs immediately showed up when we just mounted NFS mount right over the top of the location. So that's what we did, so that if we wanted to build stuff here, we could. But what we're doing with this box is we are giving this server all of the things that hostbox 2 would get. So let's go in here. Let's do nmcli con ens 18. And I think we can do, so we should be able to do con, and then we can modify by its ID or its name, and then we can edit it. Can we just show? Yeah, so here's the values that we have, right? And the ones that we need to change typically need to be change auto to like static, right? And then typically we need to change, we need to give it a default IPv4 address and a gateway. So we typically will have to set these, right? So we'll turn off method to static, so that'll be static, and then address and gateway. And I can never remember how to do, well, I'm pretty sure I can figure that out, but we can also just ask the old Googles. So nmcli change from DHCP to static address. And it's just typically some simple little thing here that just shows you how to go do the connection. So connection modify, make it manual, and then set those values. So do that real quick. You can do con modify. What was the name? ENS 18, right? And then move that over just a little more. IPv4. IPv4 dot addresses. Will it tab? No, it won't finish. And then we're going to do 192.168.11.205 in my lab with a /24 because we've got a 256-bit range, or 256 number range. It's only 8-bit range still, but all right. IPv4.gateway is 192.168.11.1, and then IPv4.DNS is going to be 192.168.11.1 as well. And we could also probably add like an 8.8.8. Oh, no, God. You guys are going to stop me. Somebody probably did try to stop me, didn't they? You know, many tech people I met that can't talk about a customer. Okay. Oh, God, Tani. Most of us engineers, most anybody that knows anything technical, you shouldn't allow them near anybody. In fact, I would say, honestly, most of the time you don't want me around anybody either because I'm going to talk technical stuff and not sales stuff. It's not that I freeze, it's that I give way more information than I probably should often. Let's just validate that showed, that took the settings that we wanted. There we go. Now, once that's set, so nm cli con down 18 en, what is that? ENS 18. And then here's a little trick. Then you say nm cli con up ENS 18. However, when I do this, I'm still going to lose connection here. So this is why I was telling you guys earlier. I want to always have. I always want to have a connection. Now look, that's terrible, right? That's too small to see. But when this goes down and up, I'm still thinking I'm connecting to 73, and it's going to go down and come back up on 205. So my Linux box is no longer going to be connected, but the interface will go down and back up. Locked, can't do anything. So I wait for that a second, or I just make a new one of these, become root, SSH 2 192.168.11.205, and if we did everything right, there's a problem. vi root .sh known hosts, shift G dd, delete that guy. Whoops. Right, quit. Go back in, and it says, oh, so he's also another one. Oh, I had a different 205. That's funny. I didn't know somebody had been on 205 before. Not on 200.205. Oh, well, okay. Well, screw it. Yes, boom. We're in the box. He's now in the right location to do all the other things he's going to do in the lab. So look, I stole something off the internet because I don't do nmcli very often, right? But the internet showed me how to do it. I set that connection the way that we wanted with this command set here, and it gave me right. And I don't like that naming. I would probably when we generate these, I will make them go back to ETH0 because ETH0 is what I know. But here's what we did. We changed it from auto to manual. We did a DNS for fun. It's good to have a DNS. We did a connection out in this, and now this box should be able to ping the internet. 8.8.8.8 is always open for you to hit for DNS. You can also do queries through it if you need to for DNS and ping and that kind of stuff. So it's just a good little, sanity check. And then if that was broken, I would start walking all the places. Like we talk about troubleshooting often, right? I show you guys troubleshooting techniques and stuff. And one of the troubleshooting things that I like to do is I'll walk the connection. Can I get to the next part? Well, if I can't even get to one, so if I can't ping that long one, so I go the whole way. If everything's good, we never talk about it again. I'm only talking about it now because some people don't do as much troubleshooting and need to practice it. So if you need to practice troubleshooting and that's busted, you look at the close. So you did the long shot and you missed. So now you come close and you say, okay, can I get to 192.168.11.1? That's my gateway. Yes. And actually, even before that, you can ping. Can I get a loop back? Can I get ethtool ENS18? Does my device see a link detected? This is very important. If I come over here to Proxmox and I'm looking at this little Rocky box here, and on his network, he's got to have a network, right? Hold on. Move this out a little bit. Does he have a network? I would imagine he's got a network. His network says he's connected. Says right there he's got a network. But if for some reason that shows that he's got it, but this shows that he doesn't, I got to figure out what's going on. And you might say, well, what would you do? Well, I might check. So I'm on a virtual machine, so I don't have as much control. There's no real actual hardware, but I would look at stuff like this. I would do like a D-message. So the system just recently booted. As the system came up, that ENS18, oh my God. Fuck, you guys got to ignore me. ENS18 was renamed from ETH0. I don't know why it was renamed from ETH0, but I'd prefer it as ETH0. But there was a module that was loaded into the kernel, and that is seen. But if there was any errors for that, I would probably see them here. I can also go, okay, so that was loaded, but if it's not working now for some reason, maybe I do an ls mod, grep for vert.io maybe I know that's the module for networking for my system. And then I go, well, vert.io _net is there, and vert.io 1 is maybe there. And I say, okay, net looks like it's at least loaded into the kernel. So then, I don't know, maybe I just start looking around. But if, let's say I had a server, this is a one that I often use because this has probably happened to me more in my career than I care to say. I'll have to go add like a HBA, like hardware bus adapter to a server to be able to like put SCSI or some kind of like fiber connections in the back of, maybe I'm doing 10 servers. And I go do it to 10 servers, turn them all back on, and I'm like, okay, I'm seeing them boot up, all the servers will come back up. I go back to my desk and I check, and then when I get to my desk, and sometimes it's better to do it at the console there, but maybe just like, oh, my desk isn't too far away, I'll go back over there. And 9 of them have it, but 1 of them doesn't. Sometimes you just didn't push the hardware card in enough, right? That happens. The server would still boot. You wouldn't see like a failure of some type in there, but then it wouldn't load the module drivers. And typically you would then see, you would do like a LSPCI, and across all your servers, you would see the, like maybe I'm looking for, right? Maybe it's a specific Ethernet vert.io network device that I expect, and 9 of my servers have it, but 1 of them doesn't. And I go, going back to the data center, going to turn that server off, pop it out, do it, put it back in, and that. So these are things that kind of run into. Court said you've been revisiting the network primer. Nice. Hopefully that stuff's useful. I'm gonna re-record a lot of our stuff. I have a lot more to add to the primer. Also, I've kind of alluded to this, but if you guys don't know, like I've said this before, like I'm pretty sure I can sit and talk for 10 hours straight to the OSI model without notes. And some of you guys have said like, oh, well then do it. I'll do it one of these days. I am working, some of you guys know I'm pretty busy. I work and I teach, and I picked up side gigs, which I try not to pick up side gigs, but sometimes a friend will need help or some company will ask me to do something, so I'll do it. But I picked up side gigs, which I shouldn't have because I'm working on my dissertation. But one of these days, Quartz, I will do that. I'll block off. I think the wife's going out of town, not this weekend, but next weekend. So maybe I'll block off some time there. Although I really should be working on my dissertation because, that time just keeps on slipping. When we're almost at the end of, we're almost at the end of 2025 already, right? And I'm supposed to be done with mine by like the end of 26, early 27. So lots of work. Although, I think the era of writing a dissertation is probably going to be done after this generation. I'm going to be one of the last guys to do that. Because, honestly, you just go have ChatGPT tell you everything that you're going to put in a research paper in a few minutes. I kind of feel like it's a gone era of humanity. My dissertation is on Bastion nodes and securing Linux systems. Now I've changed. It was on the knowledge, attitudes, behavior model of training users, like cybersecurity training. That's what it was originally on. But I was I was doing a DBA in quantitative analytics at the time. Now I'm doing a PhD in systems engineering. So I switched over and I'm just doing systems engineering. So I'm focusing on this thing that I kind of specialize in for the government. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the way that we use even our own nodes. And we're going to identify users versus bots. We're going to make more effective bastions. We already have a pretty cool little bastion system for people that have never set it up. But we're going to do it. And then I'm going to collect. But I don't want to tell you guys one of my driving factors, but one of my driving factors in doing this is when you do an IRB, which is like an internal review board to be able to research people, you have to get all of this stuff and background and planning and how are we not going to affect people in this and this and this. So if you deal with people, it's like a tremendous amount of consideration of how you're going to collect their data and use it ethically and responsibly. If you do systems, rubber stamp, you just do it. So like this whole course that I'm in right now, guys, is on getting the IRB prepped, and I'm just like, I'm a systems engineer. I don't even want to deal with the people that I'm talking to. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't want to deal with people, right? Like, I love dealing with people when I'm like talking to them about systems and that kind of stuff, my college students, that kind of stuff. But I don't want to deal with people in my research. I just want to build my systems and modify that. So some people probably in our group will be part of helping me build that and deploy that kind of stuff as well. Is it true that there are many hardware level backdoors that we cannot get rid of? I don't think so, Escaminha. I don't think that's as bad as people think, because here's the thing. If I had a system and the system was compromised and the system was sitting in an environment where it has to transmit, look, you have to transmit out either over physical networking or wireless networking, right? Those are your options. Physical is either going to be electrical signals through copper cable typically, or fiber optic signals through some type of fiber core, or some type of 802.11x type protocol or something like that. Anyways, where I'm going with all that is, if a box was really compromised and was doing anything sending traffic out, and you're sitting on that line catching the traffic, you're going to see it, right? So my point in saying all that is there may be hardware level like problems, and maybe people can trigger stuff and like crash centrifuges like Stuxnet did, but I don't think you're going to see like hardware level stuff that gives people backdoors, because you've got to adhere to the actual sending of packets. So we track stuff, we black hole things. Like I put stuff in bastion areas completely air gapped from the world, and the only way traffic can get out is back through a separate process that you can't control, and that's considered pretty highly secure as far as like data and integrity. Oh, could somebody come in and maybe drop a payload in there and maybe do something to those systems? Absolutely, that's always possible. But like getting data out of those is immensely more complex. So especially if they're built correctly. So yeah, that's something to think about. Paper about Ryzen having a failure of some sort of firmware. Oh yeah, guys, there's still current failures in hardware that like they've only patched out that the problems with the processors and the way that memory's handled in Linux, in the Linux kernel, that still exists for the what is it? something in Meltdown. I have it. The ones that we patched out in like 2017, those still exist. Those are hardware level problems, but have been solved by patching. But they still exist as kernel problems. Yeah, they're still problems. What's that called? Spectre and Meltdown. Somebody help me out here. What are those two big ones? I probably use the Googles faster than that. But anyway, so we got Hostbox 2 up. This is important. So now let's start. Because actually this is something that has to happen in my home lab anyways. Let's get Hostbox 2 stood up as the same as Hostbox 1. So probably the easiest way for me to do that is going to be like this. This is going to take a little while to drop, so I might just not use that one again. sh Hostbox 2, Hostbox. And over here, df, let's do it this way. Let's cat etc exports. And that's the things that I have in my, whoops. That's what I have in my environment. So let's come over here, and on Hostbox 2, let's firewall D is on, so that's something to think about. Let's do a system or DNF install NFS server. It's NFS server. Search all. Look for NFS real quick. So what do we need? Oh, it's NFS utils. Yeah, NFS utils. And then, hold on. It's also NFS utils. And where's the server at, though? Oh, I gotta put a space there. Where's he at, guys? FS utils, and it'll download all the other stuff it needs. Yeah, there we go. All right, so there's our NFS util. Oh, it's already there. So CTL status NFS D. FS utils is there, but NFS is not. What am I missing here? They not have. Yeah. Hopefully that's useful. I gotta be losing my mind. Hold on. As client. I mean, maybe they've changed the name in the new. I don't know. Right, so this was the way we used to do. This is old. This is an old CentOS 7 box. He's very old. So he had an FS util. Yeah, that's all he had, huh? Oops. Go to Hostbox 2. I mean, I guess we do. So he's got. Huh. I would have just thought it was. I mean, color me completely confused. Because I would have thought that it was just... I would have just thought it was right. You want me to use systemctl enable now NFS server? Yeah, but NFS server isn't there. Yeah, there's no NFS server in my look. I mean, there's none here, and there's none in systemctl. So systemctl doesn't know about an NFS server, and I don't see. Oh, I bet you. Yeah, the courts. That's exactly. Yeah. That's funny though. It should be EPEL release like that. I wouldn't have thought it was in over there, but let's see. Let's try this again. So search all NFS server. Now it's got to pull down the metadata for the new repository that we have. Let's see. I'm very surprised if it's that, but I mean, yeah, I mean that's possible that it's not in the base. Let's see what's here. Okay. In the server. Why am I not seeing? I mean, I guess. Ooh. That is weird. Where's Rocky? Where's Rocky install? I thought it was NFS utils, but I have NFS utils. Yeah, I'm going in circles there, but what do they say? Well, here's what we do then. We remove it, and then we reinstall it. Because, I mean, if it's... Maybe... I don't know, maybe something. Alright, there's RPC bind. Nope, still same things. That is not... We're going to try this anyways, but I don't think that's going to work. Oh. Dumb. So it's not even created. That's silly. And then, yeah. So that maybe that enable now might have worked, but that's still silly. I don't know why that wouldn't show up. You know what? I'm not even gonna worry about it. But it was here. Silliness that you'd have to. It should. Anyways, I don't care. John Jones asked how much did the RAM run me? You're talking about for this box here that we just built. I bought this as a completed set. Like the server was all built, so it was. This was a server that I just got shipped to me. It was about 1,500. So, yeah. So it was. You know, it wasn't cheap, but I was even saying earlier it's twice as much as anything in my lab has ever cost. My lab total was about $700 up until today when I got that. But it's all in the budget. It's all, I got the wife to approve all of it. We do have to add these commands though. So we do have to do firewall cmd add service equals. We're going to allow, NFS, NFS3, mount D, and RPC bind. And then we're going to make that permanent. Boom. There we go. And then we're going to do firewall -cmd reload. So that's there. And then one thing that you can always check is list services. Yeah, so there's our services for the system. So NFS, NFS3, and all that kind of stuff. The CPUs are all right here. This is an older box. This isn't some brand new server or anything. But I have it ends up looking like it thinks it's 80 CPUs of the, yeah, they're like 2.4 gigahertz Intel Xeon. They're not top of the line or anything. I didn't go crazy with this in any way, but we're going to be able to at least build these nodes up, which will be nice. Let me see. Can I change the name while it's running? I should be able to change the name here, right? Where's his name at? Summary. Probably gotta do it while he's off, right? Or can I change the name? Maybe we'll do it after he's off later. But okay, so we got that running. We got the NFS running. We got it enabled. So enable makes sure that it starts on startup. If we do systemctl status on NFS-server, it'll always be there on startup because we see it's enabled now. We're going to VI our Etsy exports, and our exports are going to be these files right here. I'm just going to leave them in that same permission set. And then we have to CD to, we don't actually have to CD over there. We're going to make those directories. So the directories are ISOs. We can also do it, we can do it like this, right, if we want to, but it doesn't really matter. ROMs, data, Ranger probably going to be deprecated, right? But then systemctl restart NFS server, and then if we do show mount -e, now those are all being shown from the system properly. So now we have all that mountable, right? All that can be seen, and we can move data into it and out of it and this kind of stuff. But we don't have enough space yet. So if I do a df-h here, this server only has in his dev mapper root 28 gigs. The data that's coming over is on the order of about close to a terabyte, the data that I'm going to be moving over here. And the stuff that I really care about is in this 700 gig. That's my data, and that's backup from the home and a bunch of other stuff. John Jones said, I didn't realize how much server RAM was, though. Yeah, I can see that for sure. I definitely can see server RAM getting expensive. I just was looking through servers that were a little bit dated that I could kind of get a hold of and do some hardware stuff with. And I was kind of like looking to kind of shut down some of the older servers in my lab. So this is me moving, kind of like moving shells. Like if you guys have ever seen hermit crabs move to a new shell, that's pretty much what we're doing here. So moving over and getting kind of set up in the environment. So, okay. Let's see then. How do we want to do this? So we push data, we can pull it. Oh, well, we can't do any of that. We have to make it big enough. So to make it big enough, we have to give it more disks. So can I give it disks live? I don't actually know that. But since we have to turn it off and probably turn it back on, I think, for disks anyways, I imagine. Let's go see for fun. Can I add hard disks to this? Add a hard disk. SCSI 1, sure. From lab storage. And we can give him, he's going to be big. We'll probably just give him the full, that whole storage. It's not all used. Let's say that we are going to make it, just for now, we'll make it, we'll do it 1 terabyte. It'll be a 1 terabyte disk added. What do you think? I think it's still thin provisioned. Right, yeah, these are thin provision from what I know. So as we fill it, it's going to get bigger. But that disk is there. Let's see how long it takes to show up. So LSBLK. And it's already there. The disk is already in the box, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, Fisherman, it's actually funny you say that because I went to the VA doctor the other day and she called me. She said I was morbidly obese. So I said, okay, well, that's pretty cool. That's my jiu-jitsu friends are going to get a good laugh out of that. So I've been eating right for like a week now, and I'm probably down, I don't know. I don't know how much I'm actually down, but it's a lot. But it's like all I really did was just start like prepping food and eating better, like I knew I had to anyways. So I don't think anybody that trains jujitsu with me is gonna like me when I'm 100 pounds lighter than I am now. But because they already have a hard enough time with me at my current weight. So when I get more mobile, it's not going to be fun for them. But anyways, all right, so we've got this, but this didn't do anything with it. Watch, if we do PVS, VGS, LVS, we don't have any of that there. So we're going to go PV create, and we're going to allow the system to use that disk. That disk is on dev SDVB, but it's not allowed to be used by Logical Volume Manager yet. So what we've done is if we had a physical machine, we put a disk in it. Since we have a virtual machine, we slapped a disk on the side. It's like that. You guys ever seen that meme? Like you can fit so many. This slaps the top of the car and you can fit so many in here. That's what we just did. We added, this bad boy fits so many stickers, right? This, whatever. How much spaghetti can you fit? Whatever. That meme's like been overused, right? But all we did was slap it on the side. It's a block device, so it's going to be read by blocks. There's typically two types of devices that Linux kernels interact with, either block devices or stream, right? Streams are your keyboards and your monitors and stuff like that. And block devices are blocks of data sitting out there. RAM and disk tend to get this, right? And disk can be fucking literally millions of things, right? Can be connected to the side of a system. Anyways, where I'm going with this is intermittent fasting is good. Yeah, random walks. I heard a good one about intermittent fasting one time. It was like, hey, these guys just don't eat breakfast. And they said, whoa, we don't eat dinner either. I thought that one was kind of funny. Yeah. No, random walks. I've just been doing, like I'm not drinking anything that's sugary, and I'm not eating anything with sugar in it, but it's really just prepping, right? So PV create dev SDB, and now if I do PVS, I see that disk, but it's unallocated. So then I say VG, so I do VGS, and I see my volume group that's there. And okay, it's the only volume group there, and I can do VG extend and tell it to use that disk SDB that I just gave it. So, whoops, VG extend. I got to give the volume group RL, so then it extends. Now I do PVS, VGS, and VGS. And I see that disk is now used by Logical Volume Management. It's been allocated to a volume group, and then that volume group is just like, hey, look, I got all this. I can fit so many I can fit so much data in here. But it hasn't gone down to the actual, like we've cut it up and partitioned it into root and swap. So root is 27.9 gigs, right? He's mounted right there. So now I can say LV extend -R, -L, plus 100% free. And I can say dev mapper RL -root. Might be lower. I always forget if it's lower or uppercase L, but it doesn't matter because it'll just error for me. And boom. Now if I say df-h on this file system, oh my god. When you do that, you got to do a -R so it resizes the file system. Noob stuff, guys. Look at that. Fits so much data in here. So, how are we going to get the data on this box from that other box into this box? Well, there's a few ways we can do it. Probably the easiest way is just to mount those. We can mount them one at a time and pull the data, or we can mount them all and move all the data at the same time. We're probably going to end up with the net effect of the same amount of time. And if I like babysitting data as I kind of do, I'll probably just sit here and kind of watch it. USB. Yeah, SneakerNet. We'll walk it back and forth. But here's a way to do it, right? Here's maybe a way to do it. I know that hostbox is on that other thing, so let's do the. We'll get all the ISOs over here. So we'll CD down into ISOs, right? And then what I would do then is I would mount. Maybe I CD. Let's just make dir MNT ISOs. I might already have that now that I think about it, but then we'll mount from the type is NFS from 192.168. 11.200, that's my old server, ISOs, to mount ISOs. So we're putting it over there and mount ISOs. And then we're just going to copy everything, mount ISOs, everything, into ISOs. Now, in our system, that's a really simple little thing. But we're mounting an NFS and we're going to pull a bunch of ISOs, 30-something gigs. And we're going to pull that into that system. Now, for fun, over here, if we wanted to, we could go like this. We can go to this console over here. And I'll leave this as big as I can for you guys to be able to see it. I can come here, I can go to the console. Maybe I can even, can I expand this out? Yeah. Let's change this. And we'll say df-h into ISOs. And we'll do watch while true, do date, df-h ISOs, sleep, 5, done. And now we could just watch that grow if we wanted to. Let's do... Let's just watch that grow. Every 5 seconds, we just watch it grow. Now we don't have to watch it in real time if we don't want. And also, I don't know why I don't have a date.h on there, or -h on there, but we want to see that in human readable. It's already at, geez, get out of the way. It's already at 7.0 gigs, and then every time we watch it, it's still at 7.0, and then it should move up to 7. I could have backgrounded this and just watched it in the terminal, but whatever. We'll watch in the console. Now it's at 8.8 gigs, so it's probably moving the next one. Yeah, quartz, you can fit so much spaghetti in there. That's funny. 11. What was it total? I don't know. I don't remember. I think ISOs is only like 30-something gigs or something. So, yeah, we just sit here and watch it if we wanted to. Right? We're on the clock. We're getting paid, doing whatever. I'm not really getting paid. I mean, not by Twitch or YouTube. Not really. But... yeah, it's only 1 gig connection. Yeah. Yep. 15 gigs. So that's every 5 seconds that we're seeing it. And it's also not allocating, it's not counting it until the whole file's there. We're seeing that here because it's still sitting at 15 gigs, and then it's going to jump again whenever it actually sees the full file in there. So, and then we'll know when it's done over here on the left. Yeah, I think we counted. It's a bunch of, all it is ISO files, so it's just a bunch of stuff that we've stored in the network. You know, it might have been smarter. I never do anything smarter, guys. I always do it harder. I'm not doing it smarter. What might have been smarter was to clean up old ones we didn't care, and then do. USB could be faster, but then I have to get up and walk in the other room, and I don't want to do that. Yeah. So there's. I've actually worked when I worked for Lockheed Martin. We were about 4.5 hours away from the government customer that we worked for. So we were here in Phoenix, and they were out in New Mexico, right? So they were about 4.5 hours away from us. And over the link that we had, it was fiber, but it was still, there was other things going on, and we could only use so much of the bandwidth. We actually had an equation for how big a file was, if it was better to just throw it on a USB, get in a car, and drive it there. and we would do that sometimes. If like a whole deploy was going to be bigger than that, and it wasn't going specifically with a hardware shipment, because when you go from SCIF to SCIF, hardware is always, you always got to protect things between SCIFs. But yeah, we actually had an equation for that, and how efficient something moved stuff. Yeah, I think this is only like a 30 gig. I don't know, 30 gigs maybe. This is one way to do. This is not the big one. I have one that has almost 700 gigs in it, so that one's going to be like overnight. I'm just going to let that run overnight. But these things are, yeah, I think they are one gig back end. Yep, sounds right. Well, if the transfer failed, we'd do it again. If transfer failed again, we'd do it again. Now, they are, so even though you're watching this from my home machine, and I am sitting here, I'm wireless in the other room, so my router's over there. These are doing this between they're on a switch network, so they're all talking to each other directly over network cable, right? So they're Cat5 under the hood. They're running that. Yeah, they're not gonna. We're not gonna have. There's none of those type of hiccups that can come up in there. You know, no me slowing it down because I'm streaming off of this or whatever. How many fails with source? Someone drove. Oh, Agent, you're talking if the transfer failed there? Oh, no. No, we used we had things mounted over that network, but typically, I mean, I wouldn't say transfers really fail, especially if you're using something like rsync or something. It can just pick up where it left off, right? So, yeah, you wouldn't really have that. Oh, but no, I was just talking about in my home lab here. For that kind of stuff, no, you typically won't have failures on that. But if we, you know, we had enough people going between the site and the factory that I worked at, so we called our place the factory. Yeah, I probably should have cleaned, because like half of those we don't really need anymore. They're just like old. I mean, they're old. Well, I had cleaned some of them up already, so I guess they're gone. But yeah. So, anyways, this will be done here in a minute. So, yeah. Actually, we'll go to Cat 10 or Cat 10. We'll go to 10 gig Ethernet one of these days. My switch in there is a little bit older, but I'm trying to think. I think most of these systems can step up to 10. We could look at them. We can look on the networks and see what these are capable of. I could also bond multiple 1 gig interfaces and get more speed too. We're at 41 gigs. This is more than I thought, but still, we're almost done with this one. The Ranger one, we'll keep the Ranger data, but I don't know if we'll keep it. I guess we'll keep it on Hostbox. That's fine. Ranger data was all the Ranger camera data I ever had. And the wife was telling me the other day, it was funny. She sits on a computer right over here in my office on the other side where the camera doesn't point. And she was telling me, she's like, I have so many pictures of Ranger. Like, I had so many good pictures in my phone of Ranger over the years at parties and stuff and hanging out with people. And she goes, you have so many pictures of Ranger. I was like, you have no idea. I'm pretty sure Ranger is one of the most photographed dogs of all time, because you say, well, no, there's other people that are more popular. I'm not talking about people looking at him. I'm talking like Ranger had a camera pointed at him 24/7, even when I wasn't doing stuff. And when he moved, it took pictures of him. It was like a motion sensor camera that I used to use out front. And I have gigs and gigs, like hundreds of gigs, I think, of data and movies of Ranger. So, yeah. So, like, you know, he passed on July 3rd, but we used to always watch Ranger Cam. In fact, I think I took Ranger Cam down, so I don't have it. But, yeah, we like Ranger. Ranger is... Ranger's almost as disrespectful as Fisherman. No, I'm just kidding. Ranger was a really good dog. Like, everybody loved him. He would lay around in his later years. He would just lay around during parties, and people would just come and pet him, and then he'd be tired after the party. And I'm like, what did you do? What did you do, man? No, Ranger's good. No, I like thinking about Ranger. He was a good dog. He was a good guard dog too. We have, like, so at the front of my house, there's the side yard of my neighbor can come all the way up almost to, like, if you were walking up the front path of my house, you're kind of in between the wall of my neighbor where his backyard comes up to, and it's a pretty wide area, but there's enough area that his dog always comes up there and barks at people. So I tell people, like, nobody has ever snuck up on my house, not once, the entire time I've lived here, because my neighbor's dog will fucking let me know. Like, I got that server delivered earlier, and that dog was out there barking the whole time. I told the guy it's not my dog, it's the neighbor's dog. He's like, oh no, that's fine. But, like, I've never had anybody sneak up on my house. Like before they knock, I know they're here. But yeah, thanks for coming, Saint of Vice. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. You know, we're just playing around here. We're not working super hard today. I got the lab up. I got Proxmox going. I was telling you guys, you're seeing me do this like this because when we talk through things and we work on stuff and we touch it for the first time, it's valuable to do this. As we progress, you guys are going to see me do all of this with Ansible, and we're just going to stand these nodes up and tear them down. Not this one. This will be an infrastructure node. This node is a real boy, right? He's going to be live. But all the other nodes in there are going to get torn down and built, and we're not going to care about them. They're going to be ephemeral nodes. Some of them are going to be running Werewolf. I'm going to start probably probably around the new year, we'll have a werewolf group for people that want to do werewolf projects, and then we will provision those. And in fact, the main reason I got this and I'm going to Proxmox is I want to provision stuff on the fly. When somebody says they need an environment, it'll stand up the environment and do the things they need only as long as they need, and then it'll tear it down. As it is now, the environment exists all the time, and you guys log into it as you need. Anybody that does our ProLUG labs, you guys can get in there. But then you have to reboot them for them to come up clean. I want that to not be the norm anymore. I want you to get a server, you connect to it, it'll go down, it'll come back up, done, right? No one's sneaking up online unless they want to get some naked jiu-jitsu crack. Yeah, it is actually funny, Fisherman. We joke around about that a lot with Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you know, like the guys sit down and they're like, fall atop me and meet your doom and that kind of stuff. But people forget I was a wrestler first. And even before I was a wrestler, I was an infantry guy. And I don't know. People can take that for however they want. But yeah, that's a funny thing to me. But 66 gigs, 70 gigs. I didn't know we were dealing with this kind of space. I didn't know we pushed that kind of weight around here. And that's funny. We're going to clean up, and it's going to be like 30 gigs, and we could have been done with this. But I think there's a value, though, to seeing what I'm doing, right? I described this earlier as the free cell problem. You've got only so much space to move things. How would you do it? Well, I could have backgrounded this and opened up a new one and done that as well, but we probably would have net about the same speed. Also, by the way, Proxmox is kind of cool. I'm pretty sure I can go look at monitor right here and see how much. Let's go to, wait, is monitor not do it? It might not do it here. Maybe I don't have it here, but I'm pretty sure here it'll show me how much of our network we're using. Memory pressure. I don't know. Maybe is there a network? I thought there was a cool little monitoring here for. That's CPU server load, memory usage, network traffic, but even then, yeah, that's not terrible. All right, let's watch. Is he almost done? And then over here, we'll know exactly how long it took because time gives you 3 outputs. Most of you that do Linux probably have used the time command. It's like a little stopwatch. It gives us 3 time values. Before I say them, does anybody know what they are? Does anybody want to show everybody how cool and smart they are? These give you 3 very valuable and useful things in anything you do. The main reason I use time is when I'm writing a procedure for like a junior engineer or somebody else on my team or me in the future. And I want to know like, hey, this thing that you're about to do is going to take like 20 minutes. So go ahead and go get a cup of coffee or something or drink or whatever you want. Drink because it's probably late hours when you're doing this. But mainly I don't want people to hit Control-C and then run it again and be like, wow, why is this taking so long? I better call Scott. I don't want to be called. I don't want to be called on the weekends. I don't want to be bothered. So I write this. It took 12 minutes. But how this is the real time, or what we often call the wall clock time, right? And then here's the user space calls and the system calls. So as far as like processing went, this was not much. The processing of this against the kernel was very little in both user space and system space. Less than a 12th of the time was actually against the kernel in any way. It was just going down to disk. It was just I/O pressure down to disk. All right. So that's cool. That's interesting. Now I U-mount MNT ISOs, right? Because we're not using it anymore. Clean up after ourselves a little bit. And then we could mount Did I make, hold on. That's the only one we made. So CD back to where we were. There's all of our ISOs. Go into Ranger. Mount. We're going to steal from ourselves because it's way easier than thinking through things. Mount Ranger. Ranger. And go to Mount Ranger. We can, by the way, we can skip it and we can just go right to mount. We don't have to go make one each time. And then now my copy is just going to be from mount into Ranger, right? And we should be able to get away with that. We might need a -R. Oh, whoops. What happened here? Maybe maybe I didn't have anything in Ranger. Okay, well, never mind all that. We don't need to keep the Ranger stuff. Where did I keep Ranger stuff? Oh, I have that on. Wait a minute. What am I doing here? I'm losing it, guys. Oh, hold on. Do I have something? That's weird. That's weird. Oh, yeah, that's probably right. You're probably right. I thought I... Oh, yeah, no, that's perfect. Okay. But still... But even then... This is confusing me because I know for sure Ranger has... Okay, so I guess I'm not using anything in Ranger. Oh, it's Ranger data. But where's that mounted from? Why does he have that mounted on himself? That's a really weird... I don't know why I was doing that. I must have been showing you guys. I must have been showing somebody something. Because why would this guy have his own mount point? Hold on. Yeah, I don't know why that was mounted off of himself like that. I must have done that to show something a long time ago. I don't know. I guess I don't really need the Ranger data, but that was weird. Let's get rid of Ranger. Poor guy. Doesn't exist anymore. Okay. Let's get rid of that. The thing can stop running. Let's do... ROMs. Pull my ROMs over. They're only 13 gigs. So, do the same thing. Oh. Oh, screw it. We'll just... We could remove ISOs as well, I guess. And then... Back to ISOs here. Mount 192.168.11.200. ISOs into mount. That's fine. And then just copy. We don't really need the -R. I guess we do. Why would that? Where am I at? I'm losing my mind, guys. I'm in ISOs. I have mounted ISOs from there to mount. I'm on hostbox 2. So I should just copy it. Oh my god, guys. I'm on ROMs. Man, you guys got, yeah, somebody's got to stop me. I know. I've unmounted mount. Let's go mount ROMs. Yeah, sorry, I meant to do ROMs. I don't know what I was thinking. Dumb. Copy into here. There we go. Oh man, I don't know. Permission denied. FBA are my... What ROMs are those? Let's go watch ROMs. So ROMs are going to have all of my different ROMs that I use for retro gaming and that kind of stuff. Which is funny, I don't think I've actually played any retro games since we started doing, since I started streaming. So I was thinking about it, there's like a whole retro channel, but I'm never down in there. And I used to build out a lot of retro Pis, little Raspberry Pis, and then run them. I could play them on here, but yeah, there's all my ROMs. Good. All my old ROMs. That's 13 gigs, I think. I have probably all of the older games that anybody's ever played before like 2000. So both arcades and everything. Yeah, I got all of them. Yeah. Yeah, I got all kinds of old stuff. Yeah, I love playing all those old games. Crystalis, Mega Man. And then I used to do like retro game nights over here too. There probably is a newer one. I haven't actually looked at that in years. Like what's going on with RetroPie. I haven't looked in years. What? Looks like they're out of the UK. When's the last time they released anything? Yeah, I don't know. Look at their downloads. Latest image is 2022. Yeah, maybe they moved to something else. Double Dragon was such a fun game, Quartz. You would power your guys up and you would use the same exact moves over and over again to get kind of... Yeah, is there a newer... I mean, it doesn't look like they've been supporting this for a while. If that's the latest image. Yeah, I haven't built one of these in a long time. My old ones all still work though. But yep, they go up through 4. I probably, in some of the boxes over there that the wife kind of put away for me, I probably have somewhere between like 5 and 10 Raspberry Pis just hanging around. So, yeah. Yeah. Oh, did all my ROMs get captured? That looks good. All right. I don't know why that one didn't have permission. Mount FPA. And where am I even at here? Postbox. Samba group Samba. Why did he get... Nah, there's nothing that I care about, so that's fine. Acceptable losses. And then the big one's going to be data. Data's going to take, again, a long time. So let's go to umount at mentee. Mount. Data. End amount. And then cd here to data. And then on data, we're going to copy, mount everything to here. We're going to need -r on that. Should work. Now, this one is going to also get timed And he's also probably going to get backgrounded because I know this one's going to take a long time. So what I can then do over here for fun again is while true do data. And then now, whoops. We're going to summary du-sh. And he's just going to go up because he's, I mean, I have backups in there. I have pictures. I have everything in there. And then that's probably going to run, if I had to guess, somewhere in the order of like, what are we seeing here? Let's just spitball it. If we're seeing every 5 seconds, we're seeing half. No, not seeing half. Well, it's hard to kind of quantify, but let's say that it's about, say it's an average of about a gig every 10 seconds or so, let's say. Q, you said, has anybody ever written custom pan modules? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, people have done that, yeah. Yeah, probably we're probably getting about 100 megs a second. So, if that's the case, that is 700 gigs. It's not going to be compressible because there's video. I have a lot of videos from jiu-jitsu over the years that I have. I have a lot of data and pictures. Not a lot. Look, I know people have like 50 terabytes of shit, but I don't have a lot in that sense. But it's very important to me because it's very much backed up for a lot of stuff. Q, you said you're trying to plug system auth into some custom auth provider. Yeah, the guy who I know that knows that best, if you want to ping him on Discord, I know he'll answer. It might take him a little time because he's got a new baby, is M-Pesa. If you message him, or you don't have to message him, but if you ping him in like a security channel and say, hey, what do you know about like auth modules or something? If you got a specific question, he probably can help you out. He's pretty good with that. He's also, he's kind of like our resident RHEL. He probably knows RHEL from a technical standpoint better than anybody I've ever met. And to that point, he's a RHEL architect. So if you guys know, you go get your RHCSA, RHCE, and then you pass 5 more of their certs and infrastructure, and then you get their Red Hat certified architect. So that's what he is. But he's a programmer right now for a company called Lambda, which is they do cloud, but very niche cloud for GPUs. So when you need GPU heavy workloads, you use them. We haven't talked to them yet from like NOAA, but I wouldn't be surprised if we were to talk to them because there's always the desire. Here's the thing. So people ask sometimes like, hey, you show these models, right? Like I'll show you guys the NIST models for like high performance compute, and people go, well, why don't you put that up in the cloud? Man, the costs are 4 to 10 times as much still right now to run stuff in the cloud compared to just having it like. And you say, but you guys just spent $200 million on a supercomputer. Yeah, but the per cost, the monthly cost in AWS for some of the stuff, and I'm not trying to shit on AWS. This is across all cloud providers. The back end networking doesn't achieve the speeds we need often. So anyways, if anybody ever wonders like, why is NOAA not just up in the cloud? They do cloud data modeling and this and this and this. None of the cloud providers, we've done Azure tests, we've done AWS tests. We can do stuff, but the sustained cost of it and then also the speed hit to not just running it local is too much still. And you say, when's it going to get there? I don't know. I've been watching these tests for the last 5 years, and they're not like doing good yet. So, anyways, where are we at? I was like, wait, why is that done? That's definitely not done. Yeah, there's all the jiu-jitsu stuff being copied. That's funny. All right. And then that over here is just growing. It's at 26 gigs now, so it's moving. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what they're all in now. But yeah, I definitely can do some compression stuff with that for sure. This box, then when we're done with this, we have to set up the Samba component, right? Because like I was showing you guys earlier, for people that got here later, this server host box that's now becoming host box 2 and we're moving everything over, he's also a Samba server. So I can just go right here and I can go to like data and I can get all of this data or all of these ISOs directly right here from my Windows environment too. So like my wife can put stuff up in the back end. I can have PowerShell scripts that back my data up automatically for like my dissertation and stuff. I can automatically have all that go into the Linux environment that I control, and then even if somebody compromises my Windows machine or this thing crashes like fucking Windows 11 does, or I want to connect in from some other server. I get these other servers from work or other systems from work that are also Windows. I can connect. Like I want my environment to be able to talk to everything else, regardless of what it is, right? Like while I do Linux almost exclusively, I'm not a Linux purist. Like if I have to do productivity stuff on Windows, I don't care, right? Like it doesn't hurt my feelings. And most of my work stuff, especially with the college, is online through I have to involve myself in some way with Windows. So we can turn this off. Oh, by the way, we don't have to do the human readable, so we can pop that off. We can do both, actually. We can do du and then du dash. We can just do s data. So now we see the human readable, and then we also see it in just kind of the raw every 5 seconds or so, All right, so what else? We got Proxmox. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on. If people kind of want to see the server, this is kind of the heads up display of like what's going on in the server. It's seeing 80 CPUs. It's seeing almost 512 gigs of RAM. And then we got we have 4.6 terabytes of disk space, but in practice it's about 3 terabytes, and then up in the more infrastructure area, there's like 400 gigs or something like that. So there's enough. Yeah. But this is an older box, right? This is not some top of the line new model, right? I only spent a fair little bit on it, but it wasn't too bad. What were you saying? Yeah, Q. Yeah, I've just so my newest system is I still have XCPNG on the background, right? But this one is I'm playing with it. I'm kind of seeing what's there. I've been building out. So this is my storage out here on my LVM thin, and then my lab storage is the 2.96 terabytes where we're putting all this. So we're putting all this. So actually, you're seeing this fill up, right? We're up to 149 gigs out there now, but we will sit at about a terabyte with my data that are moving there now, but then the rest of this will be ephemeral data that becomes whatever we're doing and that kind of stuff. So Basel, you said save 30% of storage. Nice. Re-recording old media stuff in the last 10 years. Yeah. So I have friends that have like whole Proxmox libraries full of like thousands of movies and stuff. But I just, did I say Proxmox? Sorry, Plex. Plex is the tool, right? And I just never did all that. But 2 GPUs and 48 cores done some heavy heat. Yeah. You can almost just heat the whole house with that. I was in a log cabin up in Montana a couple of weeks ago. One of my friends is building it, and man, it's cold up in Montana. Like we dropped out of 100 degrees up here in Phoenix, and then I was in some places out there where it was only like 40. So it was kind of a big shift for us. Glad we got out there before it snowed. It did snow one day when we were there, but it wasn't like staying on the ground yet. It was just kind of that. So yeah. So there's a lot going on, and this environment, I have enough room in here to, once I get the environment kind of stood up, we're going to be able to have people go into the bastions, and then I'll probably I've thought about how to do this, right? Like we drop into the bastion and then we go into the labs now. If you guys haven't seen that, it looks like this. Let me just go to P01 Jump 02 and then Control-Shift-R for SSH. And then we'll just keep going back. That's not good. Hold on. Let's just do that. So if he goes to 127.0.0.1, which is myself, right, connecting back to myself, and I gotta go find, I don't remember the password I used, so whoops, cancel. I need to go find this real quick. Whoops. Well, that's useless. I thought I could just... That was exactly not what I wanted to do. Hold on. Hold on. Alright, apparently I gotta click through it. Hold on, give me a second, guys. I gotta find this thing over here. I thought it was called lab something. I'm looking at my Notepad++, where I have so much stuff. Like, so many things open. Way back over here. I thought I called, oh yeah, here it is, okay. Alright, so we're gonna drop into this system and you guys are gonna see the Bastion for people who haven't seen it before. This is what the Bastion environment looks like if you come in from the outside. And you just pick a node, right? So you pick what you're doing. So like the automation course, and that'll be sent over, in this case to Auto 1, meaning nobody's in Auto 1, and then I can go do whatever I want. Well, I can stay in Auto 1 as much as I want though, but when I'm done with it, I reboot, and if I reconnect, and typically not if you do this in under a minute, I should be able to, if I give this a second here, I'll go exit, right? Let's give it a second to reconnect. When I drop in there, and I go to the automation course now, I should not go to Auto 1. Auto 1's not there anymore. So it should send me over to, yeah, see, Auto 1 is still on the books, so give it a second here. Within a minute, it should send me over to Auto 2. So you could have a conflict like that where you get kicked out, or where you don't have a server to connect to, but only if you logged in within the same minute as somebody else. And that's very unlikely to happen, I think. But now the capacity is gone, so Auto 1 until it comes back up won't show back up in there. And if anybody ever wants to see how I do that, I just use Ansible and I go check the nodes, right? But anyways, now I'm in here, so Auto 2's up, and I'll do whatever. I gotta maintain all these and update these, but this environment, but the way this environment exists is all the nodes sit there all the time, and then you use them, and then you reset them, and then they come back up stateless and whatever. What I would like to do, and where I'm going to be going with this, is Proxmox is going to handle all the templating, and I'm going to just deploy them via Ansible when somebody logs in. So you're going to log in, you're going to say the type of node or system that you need, and then it's going to connect you into that. And then when you're not in it for so long, it's just going to wipe and start and sit there empty until somebody requests another one. And that's the way the lab's going to go. Currently, like anybody that's logged in remotely, you guys can get access to this. All you got to do, be part of our Discord, and go drop in our ProLUG lab environment. Just drop a user key. You got to drop your public version of your key. Never give the private version to anybody. Your public key you can share far and wide. All keys are one way, right? Private, keep for yourself. Never show to anybody. Keep it secret, keep it safe. But your public one, you can throw it in Market Square if you want. Town Square, just throw it up and on leaflets if you want. All right, we got them all over the place. But because there's nothing that can be regenerated backwards from that key. It's all one way. So anyways, there's that. This thing's getting filled. It's actually kind of fun. I liked when I was looking at this, the storage. I liked watching that thing fill up. I thought that was funny. The one thing I would complain about with this, can I tell you guys the one thing that I kind of complain about, is this uses the high watermark as the top of their graphs, and I'm not a big fan of that. You say, what do you mean by that, Scott? Over here on Proxmox, my CPU usage is insane. Look at that. Scott's using all of this on one computer. That's 1.2. That's a percentage. This should be a graph across the bottom that I can't even put my mouse over. It's so small, right? That's 1 point. But do you guys see how that looks dramatic, doesn't it? That's not dramatic. This box is chilling. That's 1.4. So I don't like when scale changes. This is something you learn in any type of data analytics. It's something you learn in economics. You do not change the scale of graphs as they run. However, people love to display things like that. But if I showed you this, you'd be like, oh my God, Scott's server is under a tremendous load. Well, a 1.8 load against 80 cores is nothing. It's the same load on me sitting here right now on my little. I have a little ball that I sit on. I don't sit on a chair, but memory usage. Look at all that memory usage. Oh God. He's got, but it's actually, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not as big a fan of this. If I could change this, I would change it. And I'll probably change it to weekly or monthly when we get there. But it's only been on for a few hours, right? So, Q, you said there's an open feature request for that. I'm not surprised because, I mean, just think about it. Like, why would the high watermark be the high value of your thing? I mean, we're typically talking about like so between 0 and 100%, we're talking about a capacity of utilization. So why would I want it to look like what I've used as the capacity of what I could have hit? I promise you right now, what I'm saying about this, the reason I'm complaining about this, and you're like, you're an asshole, why are you complaining? Is because of this. This is why. If I showed this to a manager with no context, oh my God, because they look at graphs all day. They're going to look at that and go, we need to buy more servers. We need to buy more capacity. And then I'm like, chill. Oh, sorry, I'm not showing you the other 98.6% that could have been there. Sorry. This is actually this compared to this. Sorry. Didn't mean to worry you. I'd be pissed if somebody showed me that graph like that, right? Like if I was a manager. Yeah, well, okay, Fisherman, that's fair. In fact, often you guys will see if you do some of our different courses, right? All our courses are free online. In fact, here's the different courses that we have. These are books. You can go download them. You know what? Let me just do this here. This is the syllabus. So if anybody needs to do these are all free. These are all online. Boom. Boom. The guys put these together. So like these are free things that the dudes put together from the courses that we've built. And I'm linking it on both sides here for you guys. And where I'm going with this is you... I talk about like feeding stuff out to managers. When I feed reports to managers and stuff like that, you gotta feed it to them in a way that they can accept, which is typically comma separated values, CSV files, right? It's a very common way to do that. Yeah, be an API only Proxmox user and build your own graphs. Yeah. So Q, I was just saying this earlier too. You might have missed it, but I will only be doing this right here as I'm setting this up. When we keep going in the future, we will be using Ansible. Oh yeah, Ansible is going to do all this for us. I'm gonna stand the whole environments up with Ansible. This is going to be super easy to populate. Compared to for you guys that haven't seen this in a while or never got to see this, that finally broke that thing. CD root Ansible playbooks, CD to werewolf. So like when we were deploying target environment, target environment. So here's my werewolf, or when I was doing target environments, and then this was how we had to do an XCPNG. This is, man, you're gonna see this is super clunky. Compare what you see on the left there. That's what I had to do per server. Now I guess I could have like dropped this down because we never really got this stuff to work. But compare this here, the Zen server guest to build a server versus like this. That looks super. This looks super simple to me. Oh, I can make disk volume storage. Like I can do all this stuff. Super simple. Looks super simple to me. Yeah, looks super easy. I can define the network and the gateway right here for individual nodes that I pull. Now, here's the thing. This will probably be the way that I define very generic nodes, and then Werewolf's going to pick up and run with it, except in the environment where I'm going to have people building Werewolf and deploying stuff themselves. So that'll be there's different stuff there. Oh, that's my other talk. I didn't mean to show that. That's just my background talk that I have. So that's how we're getting. Well, it's not even working right now. That's how that works right there. Where's my? Hold on. Get back here. Get rid of this because it's too bright. Go back over to Proxmox because he's doing whatever crap he's doing. pull this back up. All right, let's go make sure. Where were we at? We were just sitting here watching this, weren't we? We weren't really doing anything super important. Console. And he's at 123 gigs. He's gonna go all the way up to 700 gigs. So it's gonna take some time. So it'll be like a Ludus lab. I don't know what a Ludus lab is, but I imagine. I guess, yeah, I didn't even think about Terraform. Some of you guys, that's funny. So if you guys don't know the story about when I got my Terraform associate certification like 4 years ago, I was working at AAA. I was the platform engineering lead for Linux and Windows. And they go, hey, Scott, we're going to put you on this project. My brother was on the project, but my brother was over on the OpenShift team. So me and my brother were going to be working together, and we were going to be working with the cloud team. Cloud team made everything extremely difficult to work with because none of them wanted to learn cloud. And it was kind of it was very weird. Like I didn't like working with them very much. And when I say they didn't want to learn cloud, I mean they didn't want to get certs. They didn't want to like understand how to do things. Well, anyways, I went and got my Terraform cert because we had all agreed we were going to use Terraform. And then we got into the first meeting, and I was like gonna say, hey guys, I just got my Terraform cert last night. Went and spent $75. I had been studying for a few weeks, passed it, pretty fun little cert, good. And they go, you know what? Let's just do this all with Ansible. We're not even going to use Terraform. And I was like, aw. But I didn't really care that much because that's all me and my brother both run. Well, when I was there with him, he's still over at that company, but we ran all of Ansible for the company. Like we ran Ansible Tower, which is automation, Ansible automation platform now. Anyways, Proxmox provider. Let's see how this is. I'll get out of here. I'll do this so that people don't die because I know sometimes it's too bright for everybody. Nobody can survive. What is that? Is that going to show up in? Oh, there we go. Should be dark mode. All right, there we go. Let's see. We can connect over. API JSON. Create. Login. Go look at this one. VMs. That's what I care the most about is how I interact with my virtual machines. And remember, as long as I can build a base virtual machine that turns on, I can iPixie boot it through Werewolf. The main thing that matters for that is that I can control the NIC. As long as I can control, you can always control the NIC, but I mean, if I can control the hardware address. Now, I imagine most people here don't care about the hardware address because they're like, I'll just use a random one. But I will tie them directly into Werewolf, turn them off, turn them back on, right? Although we can set nodes so that they're always what's called discoverable, and then it doesn't matter what the MAC is, which may be the way to go here instead of trying to keep that in the environment file, right? This was like this where I have the last part of the MAC defined here so that when you see the deployer and you get to the bottom, I've got just this generic MAC and then it adds the last little part of the MAC. And then if I needed to, I could have mapped more. But MACs are hexadecimal, so you have 0 through F as the numbers to use. And you say A through F aren't numbers, they are in hexadecimal. They are absolutely numbers, and they represent 4 bits underneath them, right? But they're still numbers. That's an important thing to know. Those are numbers, not letters you're looking at. I know it's weird, right? Because you're like, well, it's alphanumeric. Yeah, but they're numbers. That's a computer science question. That'll get you. Can I get? Hold on. No. Yeah, so I can generate a MAC address if I wanted here, or again, we can just make it always discoverable. So it's one of those things I always tell you guys, like, how do we want to pre-bake it? Do we want to have absolute control over it and just let it run wild? I don't care in a lab. At work, I'm 100% absolutely control. We control things. We know exactly how they're going to work, and we go from there. Does Proxmox have a Docker implementation now? Last time I played with it 2 years. I don't know. I don't know if I can stand up. I mean, I could for sure inside of here stand up Kubernetes and then just overlay a bunch of Kubernetes, right? Like I have Kubernetes in my home lab. Kubernetes runs our web page, right? Right, our web page for ProLUG, right? Shows you guys the automation courses and stuff, what's going on in the environment, right? It's a super simple little thing that one of the guys slapped together, and then I just maintain it inside of our server stack. But that's all, where's that at? Hold on. XCPNG. That's all up on this guy, our prod Kates. And I used to have them spread around, but it's fine to have them on here. In the future, as we get more and more, as we refresh servers, we'll probably move our K8 nodes to be on multiple things. This guy is the prod K8 one is what we call the control plane, or what used to be the master node, and then these are the worker nodes, which used to be the slave nodes, but you know, can't call them that anymore. So it's control plane and worker nodes, and those are the terms you'll typically hear them called. So. Yeah, it looks like it uses LXC containers, or sometimes, according to this, it could also be the other ones. From what I was just looking at here, I saw that it also can use QEMU or LXC. So those are the two different resources. Let's go look at QEMU. So we can do a VM, and very similar to the other one. I don't know which one it uses by default. Proxmox apparently can also do a cloud init disk, so that's interesting. So I hadn't even thought about doing Terraform. I've been doing so much Ansible. I just thought about doing Ansible stuff. Q, you want me to look at it? Hold on. You said this one's actually maintained? Huh. But what's the BPG? Sorry, BPG. Yeah, that was my bad. I saw BGP and I was like, what the hell do I have to do with networking? Oh, okay. Endpoint URL, boom, hit it, control it. Username, password if we want to do that, or just do some kind of token, I'm sure. Oh, that just reminded me, I gotta go fix one of my Ansible labs from like months ago. I caught this error in it and I haven't gone back and fixed it. Oh, jeez. Oh, man. Oh, that's in the title, isn't it? I was wondering why people kept knowing that it was 512. Yeah, it's, I guess I put it in the title, didn't I? But no, this box does have quite a bit of, and we haven't done anything except throw one box on it so far. So that one server will probably be our only build that's like that. Everything else is going to be, we're going to do it the right way, automated. But hold on. So let's see, look, API token, if we got them. Let's go look to virtual environment. I am going to want to, as we deploy things, there's a minimum of 3 nodes I'll need if I want Werewolf to work in the environment. There will be a node that exists and behaves like a router in the environment, because he has to be the one that changes the frame tag for 802.1q to work, right? The frame or the ISL if you're all Cisco, but 802.1q, which is frame tagging for VLANs, right? He has to exist there. Then we have to have the Werewolf node, and then we have to have the Werewolf actual server, and then we need one other node to function as a box that can just be abused as a target, turned on, turn off, that kind of stuff. Let's see. What can we do to hosts? This is a pretty robust little, lots of stuff going on. Let me see if I want to see in the. Group. Looks like there's a lot of stuff I can mess with here. Also, I think the wife's home. I hear her downstairs. Okay. Oh, actually, she might have food ready, so I might have to go here soon. Yeah, guys, we'll keep building these. We'll keep working on this stuff, but we got a lot going on in the environment now. We got a lot of systems kind of to work with, and we're gonna keep working the capacity over into there. So if you guys have any questions about any of the things we did today or anything like that, we have a section down in the Discord. You guys can always ask. Looks like a lot of people are doing stuff in the Discord now, but you guys can go in there. Also, I always tell you, check the events. Events are all free. You can just go hang out with people. And if you feel like, oh man, I don't feel comfortable because I don't know everybody. Everybody else doesn't know anybody either, right? Oh, look at this. Wife got me food, and the wife got me my stuff. Oh, thank you, wifey. Oh man. The only thing is I'm so parched. I'm just kidding. I'll go down. I do have water. I'm fine. All right, guys, I'm gonna have to drop off of here because the wife's home, and there's food now. So I appreciate everybody coming by. Hop down in the Discord. That's always free for you guys to do and hang out and meet other people that are doing similar stuff to you guys. But I definitely appreciate you guys all coming, and I will see some of you guys.